Welcome to the final day of the Seiko 49er and 49er FX European Championships. My name's Peter Rush. I'm your host. I'm joined by our expert commentator here, Andy Rice. And Andy, it's medal racing day here in Helsinki, Finland. The last day of the competition. We have 3 races, inshore, theater-style racing. It's all on for podium finishes.
Yeah, it sure is. This whole format is designed to put the sailors under pressure, and it's about testing who is best when the chips are down. So that's what sport is all about, and that's why we're focused on the top 10 in these European Championships, both in the men's fleet and the women's fleet.
Well, we're going to start with the 49er FX, but before we do, we're going to take a closer look at what the theater racing means. Well, Andy, that gives you a little bit of a taste of what we're going to see today, this theater-style racing. The conditions on the race course are going to make it even more interesting.
Yeah, these boundary ropes, these lane ropes that run down either side of the course are going to demand an awful lot of boat handling. Tactically, it's going to be challenging, but I think we're going to see some errors because there's going to be so much high-pressure tacking and high-pressure jibing involved. The course is just 750 meters long. It's limited to 450 meters wide. Nathan Outridge just came in now, reigning Olympic champion, concerned that the course is maybe a little bit too narrow. So if the Olympic champion's worried about the narrowness of the course, maybe these women are too. We'll have to see.
Well, the 49er FX class, that's going to be first up, and we've already seen some great racing in this class. Andy, tell us a little bit about who we can keep our eye on, who we should be keeping our eye on today.
Well, I think who we need to keep our eye on most of all, I think, the Kiwis, the reigning world champions, Alex Maloney and Molly Meach. They take a 1-point lead into this day today, just ahead of the reigning European champions, Ida Marie Nielsen and Marie Olsen from Denmark. And not far behind them are the Brazilians, Martina Grael and Kahina Kunze. And I think we're probably going to see the medals decided between those 3, but I'm sure the Danish sailors, Jenna May Hansen and Katja Iversen, will have something to say about that as well.
And there's also a happy British crew that's going to be on this racetrack.
Yeah, they got the golden ticket to win through on the repechage from the Petit final. That was Kate McGregor and Katrina Best, lying in 10th overall, but just happy to be in this race. But we're coming in to the final few seconds of this start, and at the moment, I'm wondering who's going to be thinking about a port tack start. It could be that the GBR boat nearest us is thinking about that. That's GBR 22 Charlotte Dobson and Sophie Ainsworth. It looks like they're lining up for a port tack start. Maybe the Brazilians also. And it's the nature of this short course racing. The port tack start can be quite highly rewarded. They're coming into the final few seconds and off they go. It's a great start for the Spanish, starting on starboard and leading the charge out towards the left-hand side where the majority of the boats are sailing at the moment. There are 4 sailing out the other side, so it's almost an even split between those going left and those going right, but slightly more coming out towards the left-hand side, led by the Spanish. That's the reigning Olympic champion in the match racing, Tamara Echegoyen.
And Andy, the wind is further around to the left than we've seen it this week. What does that do in terms of the shiftiness of this racetrack?
I think it is going to be very shifty. It's not so different to the wind direction we've seen on previous days, but if anything, it's blowing even more off the city of Helsinki, and I think that will make it shifty. But also the overriding factor is reaching those boundary lane ropes, and you're going to be dictated as to when you can tack. You're not always going to be able to tack on the shifts. More likely, you're going to have to tack when you're forced to tack by the lane ropes.
And we've just had confirmation from the race committee. It was a clean start. I was a little bit worried about the Spanish boat. They were so quick off the line. Maybe they were a little bit bow forward. But the confirmation from the race committee, all clear on the start.
Now we see one of the leading contenders there. We see two Danish boats, but that's the one to the right of screen, Denmark 11, that we should be most interested in. The Schutter sisters in the other boat are not in contention for the medals, but Ida Marie Nielsen certainly is. She's in second overall, just a point back from the Kiwis going into this race, which effectively is really no lead at all. So it's neck and neck between the Danes and the Kiwis going into this race. But it's the other Danes are looking very good on the left-hand side of the track. Jenna May Hansen and Katja Iversen. They'll be keen to get back into podium potential here today. They're in fourth overall, but with every chance of getting up into the top three, especially if they're sailing the way they are at the moment. They're looking very strong on the left-hand side of the track.
And Andy, we've got 3 crews from Denmark in this final, 3 crews from Great Britain as well. And it's a newer class. Just developing, the fleet's developing their skills, but certainly good results overall for Denmark and Britain, regardless of what happens today.
Yes, and I think that's to do with the knowledge transfer of having some great Danish sailors in the men's 49er. You've got great examples like the 2008 Olympic champion, Jonas Warrer, who is racing here later on in the men's final. It's guys like that that passed on the knowledge to the Danes. But here we see the Germans tacking Germany 777, Leonie Meyer and Eleanor Stoffers ducking underneath Charlotte Dobson and Sophie Ainsworth, forced to tack there because they've reached the limits of the boundary rope. And Denmark 49, it's the Schutter sisters sailing well in strong winds, and they tend to like the strong breezes, these Danish sisters. But we're not really looking at these girls here for overall contention for the European Championships.
Well,
lovely tack.
They've come right out to the boundary. And yeah, certainly you can see a great example of the crew work and the boat handling skills there with that tack.
Looks like they're just getting across the front of the Kiwis, but the Kiwis attacking anyway. And will the Kiwis get a good enough tack to stay in clear air? Because otherwise they're in danger of being rolled there by the sisters. But it's Jenna May Hansen, Katja Iversen on starboard tack sailing across our screen there, looking like they may well be in the lead and will lead around the top mark.
Well, we are approaching the top mark for the first time. This is race 1 of 3 medal races in the 49er FX class here from Helsinki, Finland. The conditions on the course, Andy, what wind strength are we looking at out there?
My estimate would be it's about 16, 17 knots of breeze. It's still very much raceable. We're nowhere near survival, not for sailors of this quality. But it would only take another 3 or 4 knots on top of this, and then the wind speed would start to make things really tricky. They still need to watch it on the bear away, which is the manoeuvre that the Danes will be doing very shortly when they go around the windward mark. I'm guessing this is going to be their final approach to the top mark, and there it's confirmed they're just a couple of boat lengths away. This is one of the trickiest moments in 49er racing, is the bear away from going to windward, the acceleration bearing away to going downwind, but that was very safe by the Danes, and the Red Jenica goes up and they have a 3 boat length lead ahead of the Spanish. The Kiwis going around just behind them, the Schutter sisters just behind. 2 British boats, first it's Dobson, then it's McGregor, who just scraped into this final, Brazil, and then Nielsen. So amongst the top contenders, it's the Kiwis that are leading amongst the top contenders. They're not leading the race, but they will be very happy to have gone round in the top 3 in this race.
An important first leg there for Jenna May Hansen and the Danes, leading around that top mark. They come into the race in 4th place, and certainly if they're trying to push onto the podium, they're making a great start of it.
And we don't know if the Brazilians have jibed because they like the breeze out that side, or they didn't like their position and they're just trying something different in some clear air away from the rest of the pack. But the Brazilians doing a little bit of gambling out on the right-hand side away from the rest of the fleet. And most of the leading contenders have now jibed onto port jibe. That's Jenna May Hansen leading. Bit of an hourglass, but it didn't last long there. The kite sets nicely out of that jibe for the Spanish. Tamara Echegoyen coming towards us and just jibing. It's Kate McGregor and Katrina Best. Good jibe by them.
And again, Andy, you can see those boundary markers there. That's what's forcing them back towards the middle of the racetrack. The spinnakers come down, and they're going through the leeward gate now. And
that looks a little bit shaky there by the race leaders at the moment, but they've got it back under control there by Jenna May Hansen. but giving away quite a few boat lengths if it's the left-hand mark that they wanted to go around.
That seems to be a very late call that they've made there.
And especially for that boat just going out of picture to the right, they're in danger of going the wrong side of the marks. That's Nielsen, the reigning European champion, giving away a lot of unnecessary distance there. And the Kiwis are much better rounding from them. The Spanish, this is a sign that the boat handling is indeed challenging, more than maybe I had expected. And these are sloppy mark roundings.
Well, Andy, a lot of positions being given away there, but also everybody wanting to come to this mark, the mark that's closest to us.
Yes, and I wonder if that's just because they wanted to avoid the jibe. The jibe without the Jenica can be a high-pressure, potential capsize problem, and we do indeed see some capsized boats on the course. We don't yet know who that is. We could probably work it out by a process of deduction. We think it's Leonie Meyer and Eleanor Stoffers of Germany. The leaders have tacked onto port. We're looking at the Spanish just tacking, but that's a poor tack by the Spanish. So we are seeing some boat handling errors here. Katrina Best crewing for Kate McGregor just tacking there. The Kiwis tacking. What's their tack going to be like? It's a good one. They're straight out onto their trapezes, fully stretched. Molly Meach soon followed by Alex Maloney. So that's good boat handling by the Kiwis. The Spanish up and running after a bit of a shaky tack by them. Just going across our screens, GBR8, that's Francis Peters and Nicola Groves. So the British are well represented in this final with 3 boats.
And Andy, our race leader, Jenna May Hansen, they've tacked. They're coming in towards the middle of the racetrack as well here. And certainly they seem to have avoided the type of boat handling errors that have plagued some of the other teams. They're still holding on to the lead, but they have given away some distance. And the ones chipping away are the Kiwis.
Yes, the Kiwis doing another tack there already, so we see how often they're tacking, because it's an expensive maneuver in such a fast boat as the 49er FX, but they're forced to do it because of the boundaries, and that's what I love about these boundaries, especially in this kind of wind strength, because otherwise you would just see boats one tacking their way out to the far side of the course and doing minimal maneuvers. Well, they're forced to do multiple maneuvers, and that's why we're seeing capsizes out here.
And we should probably call out Kate McGregor just squeaking into this this final, this top 10, and it looks like sailing in a position of about 3rd place in this race.
Well, fantastic for them, and they were the yellow jersey wearers after day 1, so they started off the regatta very strongly. They had a bit of a shaky middle, but they're a fairly new pairing. Katrina Best, the crew, was out with injury for a year or so, so for them to be in this final 10 final, even to get into it, is a fantastic achievement, and that's what they pretty much told us when we spoke to them earlier.
Yeah, they certainly seem to be happy to be mixing it up in these final races. And again, our medal, our podium positions are going to come from the sailors in this fleet. It's just the top 10, and all we're trying to determine now with the 3 races today is the finishing order. And right now in the overall results, it's the Kiwis who would become the race leaders, the overall leaders in the series. But there's still plenty of racing to do, and in these conditions, there's still plenty of things that could happen.
Yeah, absolutely, and we saw a lot of unforced errors at the bottom mark, and so it makes you wonder what we're going to see the next time they come down. It's possibly going to be pretty tricky up at this windward mark for those that are going round together as well, but one boat that seems to be quite well out in the lead at the moment is Jenna May Hansen, Katja Iversen. As I say that, I wonder if the Kiwis are getting close to them.
Well, the Kiwis, we'll have to see if both are on ley line here. The Kiwis have made a bit of a gain, and another team that I'd point out as having a good upwind leg this time around. Oh, there's a mistake at the top on the bearway, Andy.
Yeah, that was the pressure, and look how loaded the boat is. They're close to nosediving there. They might have got away with it.
And what's happening to the Kiwis here, Andy?
They can't even bear away, unless you get your boat handling right. Now, this is extraordinary. I can't quite work out what's gone on with the Kiwis. Maybe it's a knot in the main sheet, a knot in the jib sheet. If you can't let the sails out, you can't bear the boat away. And this I did not expect to see.
That would be very expensive for them.
Wow. This is the boat that I least expected to see boat handling errors from. And it's hard to judge exactly what went wrong there, but I wonder if it was a knot in a sheet that made it. And even the hoist looks bad. I wonder how that's going to work out for the Kiwis.
Well, it's very untidy at the top mark for just about all of the boats going around. We thought there was a little bit of untidiness on the race leaders going around, but in comparison, they had a great mark rounding.
And the Kiwis have recovered, but wow, they gave away that opportunity to take the lead from Jenna May Hansen, because the Danes who were leading this race, they had a very shaky bear away. They nearly nosedived the boat and capsized themselves. But the Kiwis are back up to speed, and that will be a big sigh of relief for them.
And the other Danish crew has taken advantage of that mistake. The Schitte sisters are off to the races as well, probably in second place, possibly having come up ahead of the Kiwis here.
So this could be a Danish one too as they come down. And I can't see anyone taking this away from Katja Iversen and Jenna May Hansen unless they have a mistake through this final jibe to the finish. I think they've got one more jibe they need to do, and we've seen people give in and capsize on pressure jibes earlier today. It's a shaky moment for the Danes. That's not the best jibe, but as long as they keep the boat upright, they should be able to get through and finish and take the winner's gun. A critical win for them as they look to get back into the top three. So congratulations to the Danes. Who's going to be next through? They're a long way back, but let's see who it is. It's another Red Jenica, which tells me it's probably going to be the Schutter sisters in second. So great sailing by the Danes. Again, it's a bit ragged, that kite going through the finish, but it doesn't matter as long as you keep the boat upright, and the Schutter sisters are safely through, just ahead of the Kiwis, who must be kicking themselves at what might have been.
Well, the Kiwis through in third place, but that won't do any harm to their overall position. The Kiwis had a 1-point lead overall coming into this, and they'll actually extend that lead a little bit over Ida Marie Hansen and Marie Olsen. So a lot of action out there, Andy, and if you're watching on television, looking at the water, it might not necessarily appear to be as windy as it actually is. With the wind coming offshore here, the water actually looks relatively flat. But from our position here, shoreside, we can say it is definitely breeze on.
And the breeze is going up. You asked me a few minutes ago what the breeze was, and I thought it was about 16, 17 knots. There are more white horses now, and I wonder if we're beginning to touch up towards 20, maybe gusts of 20, but about around 18, 19 knots average, I would say. And just that small difference in wind speed, the boats go so much faster, but also when they're going slow, like when you're bearing away the windward mark, they're a lot more highly loaded as well, which is why we nearly saw the race winners pitch pole in at the top mark. They did well to get away with that.
Well, and our overall series leader just could not turn the boat downwind. And I know you were explaining this to me yesterday, what happens there. And I was taking it with a grain of salt, thinking it's a bit of an exaggeration. But it was amazing to see that they just couldn't turn the boat down.
No, until you've sailed it and tried it for yourself, you won't really understand, because most boats sail where you want them to. You pull the rudder, and the boat will track according to where you put the rudder. But the rudder is relatively small on these boats, and the rudder is only the final piece of the jigsaw. The main things that steer the 49er really are where you set the sails and how you heel the boat. So do you lean the boat away from you, or do you pull the boat on top of you? If you pull the boat on top of you and let the sails out, the rudder will be the final sort of correctional trim tab, but you can't ask it to do all the work, which is what the Kiwis were trying to do when they failed to bear away at the windward mark.
So it looks like that cost the Kiwis at least one position as they finished in third. But had they had a clean rounding, they might have had an opportunity to really battle for first place in that race. So possibly a 2-point error there for the Kiwis. But they remain our overall series leader. And certainly I think they've even extended a little bit. So a good result, a good enough result there for our series leader as they're trying to nail down the gold medal position. 2 more races left here in the 49er FX in our medal racing series and this theater style racing. So it's still all to play for. You can see our overall leaderboard there, and the Kiwis remaining on top, with Denmark very close behind and Brazil in third place.
And you can't even afford to relax in between these races in this kind of wind speed in a 49er. If you've got a coach boat that you can put one of your wings down on, that gives you some stability. So you can relax a little bit more. But if you don't have the luxury of a coach boat, which it has to be said, actually most of these sailors out here do, then you can never really relax that much, because a 49er stood still is a bit like a bicycle at traffic lights. It wants to fall over. It always wants a bit of forward momentum.
Well, there is our overall results, and you can see them on screen there, our provisional results. And not a great race for the Brazilian crew here, Andy.
No, that very much moves Jenna May Hansen up into medal contention, just 2 points back from the Brazilians after winning that race for the Danish. So this really is turning into a 4-horse race. But Maloney and Meach did enough, despite that shaky moment at the Windward Mark. They did get a 3rd place, and they have a 4-point cushion over the Danes, Ida Marie Nielsen and Marie Olsen, who also had their shaky moments in that race, particularly at the leeward mark rounding, which was one of the decisive moments in that race. And it's the manoeuvres where these races are going to tend to be decided. It's not so much a boat speed race, although that's still important. Some teams are faster than others, partly due to how they set the boat up, partly due to crew weight, and obviously when it's windy weather, you want to be heavy, and so this is going to play into the hands of some of the heavier crews.
All right, Andy. Well, our top 4 look fairly secure at remaining as the top 4, but there is everything to play for in terms of a finishing order there, and in terms of who actually gets on the podium, which 3 of the 4 get on the podium, and then what color medal they're going to take home with them.
Yeah, it's really hard to... Yeah, it is pretty much a 4-way race now, because Leonie Meyer, she's in 5th place still, but she did herself no favours with that capsize down the first run of that race, finishing in last place. That's put her out of contention now for being able to win a medal here. So it's really... Well, in fact, what's interesting is that last year's European Championships in Aarhus in Denmark, it's these very same 4 boats that are in contention this year for the medals. The order might be slightly different because it was Nielsen who won the European Championships last year. She's in 2nd overall at the moment. The Brazilians were 2nd last year. They're in 3rd overall. The Kiwis were 3rd last year. They're winning at the moment. And Hansen is in 4th. She was 4th last year at the European Championships. So you'd have to say these are the 4 standout crews in this fleet right now.
Well, the cream rising to the top here in Helsinki, Finland, and the wind coming up as the day dawned with bright sunshine. There was a bit of breeze. It was a very nice morning, and for the qualifying racing today as well, under bright sunshine. The clouds have rolled in, and the wind has continued to build here, and if it keeps doing that, we're going to have a very exciting afternoon on our hands as we prepare for race 2 of 3 scheduled races today in the 49er FX class. The wind continuing to build, and an awful lot at stake for these crews that are on the water now.
So the crews have separated from their coach boats because we're now getting into the start sequence for the 2nd theatre-style race for the FX sailors. And it will be a matter of working out what was the strategy that worked. For the Spanish early on, that that pin end start on starboard was working very well for them. But we saw the leaders, I think, come out of the right-hand side after a port tack start underneath the fleet. So that really is a very strong strategy in these small fleets and where you've got these boundary ropes. Nathan Outridge was saying earlier that he was watching some of the races earlier on this racetrack, and the boat that was winning the left and the boat that was winning the right typically were 1st and 2nd at the Windward Mark. So whether it's as clear-cut as that in these races, we'll have to see. But certainly, if you can win your corner, you're in good shape getting to the top mark in a highly ranked position. And
Andy, that puts so much pressure on the start and the starting techniques, and that really comes down to, well, a bit of coordination between the helm and crew, but getting the boat in the right place, that's on the helm.
Well, yeah, but it really is both, and it's a good point that you make there, because one of the things that we all had to learn when the 49er first came along was... hang on, I think we're just being told that maybe we're seeing some problems for GBR 99. We'll have to get back to you on that, but maybe Kate McGregor and Katrina Best have problems on board their boat. I don't know. We'll have to find out on that one. But one of the things about this boat is the crew that controls the main sheet. So that requires massive coordination between the helm and the crew. So there we see the mainsail coming down on GBR 99, so there must be problems on board for them to be doing that. Not clear what exactly is going on there, we hope that they are going to continue racing, but this is of great concern for any British fans, for Kate McGregor and Katrina Best. Let's hope we see that mainsail go up again shortly.
Yeah, it looks like they're definitely going to miss this second race anyways, Andy, but the fact that they don't seem to be on a charge to head in is maybe an indication that we might see them again in race 3.
Okay, well, we're getting into start sequence for the next race, so it's hard to see them getting that main. Well, in fact, they won't be able to. So the Blue Peter flag is already up, and they're next to their coach boat, so they would be disqualified if they tried to race. And we've only got 1 minute 30 to go, and the Brazilians are up by the pin end again. So are they thinking about a port tack start? At the moment, there don't seem to be many people booking up for their port tack start. It looks like the Brazilians might have it all to themselves this time around. And that surprises me because it looked like a very successful strategy last time round.
Well, Andy, and you can see they're a little bit further off the line than what we've seen when we had the larger fleets in play. With just 10 boats here, a little bit easier maybe to find your slot. There's not quite the same pressure to get right up on the line early.
When it's this windy, it's quite difficult from stopping the boat moving forwards. You can control your boat speed much more effectively in lighter winds, but the boat wants to tend to drive forwards a little bit. So you are likely to see the crews hang back a little bit more. You see how much sideways drift there is for the Brazilians there. So I would think they're going to have to reposition if they're going to go for the port tack start, but maybe they're not going for an absolute right on the pin start. Maybe just start on port tack by the committee boat and just be first to get out to the right hand side. Just 30 seconds to go now, and see how far back the bulk of the fleet is hanging for a starboard tack start. It's only the Schutter sisters, Denmark 49 and Brazil 12, that look like they're interested in the port tack start. They're going to wait for the rest of the fleet to go ahead of them, and then they'll break out to the right hand side, just those 2 boats by themselves. So the rest of the fleet, the other, well, we have to say 7 boats because we haven't got GBR 99 in this race. There are only 9 boats left in this.
Andy, I'm watching what's happening with Brazil here. Talk us through this.
Brazil's got a lot of ducking to do because some of those boats are quite slow to start, but will Brazil manage to get ahead of the Germans, or will they have to duck them as well? No, it's a big barrel and you don't want to have to do that. It's quite an uncontrolled move there, but Brazil do get away with it and they lead the Schutter sisters out to the right-hand side. So that's the Brazilian strategy, well executed, but also a good start there for Denmark 49. But it's the Spanish going out to the other side. We can't see them in picture at the moment, but they won the pin. On the previous race, they won the pin this time, and there we see them. Most left-hand boat, Spanish 23, the reigning Olympic champion Tamara Echegoyen, showing her Olympic pedigree, winning another great start. Maybe that's the benefit of being a match racing specialist. You know all about slow boat handling and slow boat positioning off a start line.
Well, she is leading the charge out to the left. That's Charlotte Dobson from the UK there, and of course Alex Maloney, our overall series leader in EdZL1. So they're pushing out to the left, and pushing out to the right is Brazil and Denmark. They're leading the charge out to the right-hand side. You can see they've just tacked, and they're starting to come back in towards the middle of the racetrack. And
a nice boat speed edge there for Brazil by the look of it. And so it seems like the Brazilians are going very fast, but so is Leonima and Elena Stoffers. And the Germans looking in much better shape than the previous race. Charlotte Dobson, GBR 22, crossing on starboard, just tacking onto port. They are looking well placed in this race right now. And a bit early to say, but I wonder if we could be looking at the race leader, GBR 22.
Yeah, we'll have to see how they match up with the boats coming in from the right, but certainly it looks like they are going to be ahead easily here. So GBR 22, NZL1, and Denmark 11 as well. You can see them just coming into view on your screen as well, and they look like they're a little bit bow forward of the rest of the fleet.
So the boats that started on starboard and went out to the left-hand side are the boats that are leading this race at the moment. The Brazilian strategy didn't work out. I thought it might do, but it hasn't gone well for the Brazilians. They're still very much in the mix, but the 4 boats we're looking at in picture all started out towards the left-hand side, and it's Ida Marie Nielsen there, Denmark 11, who's looking very strong right now. The reigning European champions, crossing behind the Spanish though. And the Spanish will only have 1 more tack to do, I think. So the Spanish attacking there. Will they be on ley line? Are the British on ley line? Are the Danish on ley line? We'll find out shortly. If they are, then the British are looking in good shape. but we'll have to see. It's very, very tight between Britain, Denmark and Spain right now, and the Kiwis not far behind.
Well, and an important cross coming up on your screen right here between Brazil, BRA 12, and the Danish boat, DEN 136, Jenna May Hansen, because that's the fight for third place.
So it's very, very close. No one really establishing any supremacy here quite yet. Brazil still very much in the hunt, despite a less than satisfactory first half of the beat. No major errors by anyone so far. We saw a lot of errors in the previous race, but on the first turn downwind, I think maybe that's where we'll see things start to shake up again.
And Andy, at which point is this the race? This is the second last race. Is this when you start to play the man, as it were? You start looking at your other competition for medals and for podium places, keep your eye on that, and keep track of who your closest competitor is?
I spoke to some sailors about that. Some just want to sail every race as well as they can. They say they're not that interested in the points. Others say, yes, they do the maths. They get the coach to do the sums for them, and they like to know where they stand. But in this kind of racing, I think it's quite hard to get too aggressive on anybody else. In these kind of boats, on this kind of race course, especially in this breeze, I think you're really just sailing as fast as you can. Just keep it safe, keep it fast, and keep an eye on your opposition. If you've got a choice about which boat to cover, maybe that influences your decision. But round go, GBR 22, Charlotte Dobson, great race by them. Sophie Ainsworth gets the kite up, Blue Jenica gets set, not far behind them. It's the Danes, Ida Marie Nielsen, Marie Olsen, the reigning European champions. Will they be able to roll over the Brits? Well, the Brits jibe before that happens. Maybe they saw it coming, maybe they wanted to jibe anyway, but it's a bit of a slow jibe there by GBR 22, so they will have given a little bit of distance away there, and it's Nielsen and Olsen coming up to the lane ropes. They're forced to jibe here. What kind of jibe will it be? These lane ropes really put you under pressure.
That was a really nice.
It sure was. Beautiful jibe and sailing very deep, almost parallel with the lane ropes there for the Danes.
Yeah, I think they escaped without it, even having to do a jibe there. Andy, important for the Danish boat. They're sailing a great race here, but they need some competitors between themselves and the Kiwis if they're going to make up the points they need to threaten for the overall win.
Yes, and it could well happen. I mean, we see that the Kiwis aren't infallible. They nearly put it in on the previous race. They couldn't bear away at the windward mark. But at the moment, the Brits sailing very well, GBR 22. Who's going to be taking the lead, though? It looks like we got a lead change for Denmark 11, who move ahead of the Brits. Their boat handling is just exemplary. Now, will we see a better drop from them than we did in the previous race? It was very shaky on the previous race. I suggest they start getting that kite down because they're leaving it too late. They left it too late yesterday. They've left it too late on the previous race. And they've left it too late again on this race. It may not do them too much harm, but I don't know why they put themselves under so much pressure when they don't have to. It's being a little bit greedy because you don't want to let that kite go. You've got all that horsepower. You think, I want to hang on to it until the last moment. But the boats are going so fast downwind, even without the Jenica. Just get it down a little bit earlier. Still, there they go.
They're around, they're clean, and they're heading upwind and heading out to the left-hand side of the course. They're going to hit that boundary very, very quickly and be forced to tack back towards the middle. And they'll be keeping their eye on NZL1 as the Kiwis are their main opposition for an overall race win. Not only do the Danes need to win this race, they need some boats in between them and New Zealand. And at the moment, I think they've got that.
They seem to, don't they? This is not a great race from the Kiwis, and unfortunately for the Kiwis, we're not seeing any unforced errors by the other teams. Everyone's kept the boat upright so far. Everyone so far has made a clean rounding out of the leeward mark, which is normally one of the areas where you can expect somebody to go a little bit awry. But everyone got their kite down and is around the leeward mark. But the Kiwis, I don't know what's going on with the Kiwis. I wonder if we can get a camera back to the Kiwis, back at the leeward mark, because... No, they've got going now.
They've got going now, but they were very slow for quite some time there.
So this is a disastrous race for the Kiwis, and
this could be the regatta right here.
So they really need to get up to pace. They've only got a lap left in which to make up some ground and make up some points, but it's all playing into the hands of Ida Marie Nielsen and Marie Olsen, looking more certain to defend their European title unless the Kiwis can start making inroads. Of course, we can't forget the Brazilians. The Brazilians are having a reasonable race here, and they're not that far back out of the points.
No, well, we will keep our scoreboard updated as we get through the end of this race, but certainly you've got your eye there on NZL1. This is what the overall results would look like if the boats were to finish in the position they went through the leeward gate in. And if that were the case, we would have a new series leader. And a new series leader, Andy, with, well, we're not going to say a comfortable margin, but with a reasonable margin heading into the final race.
I think in this kind of wind strength, it's not quite as big as it was. I think the breeze has abated a little bit, and it's back down to about 14 or 15 knots, which is maybe why the boat handling is a little bit improved from the previous race. But I don't think you can rule anything out. I don't think 4 points is enough for Nielsen to feel secure over the Kiwis quite yet.
Well,
safely through. Sorry, Peter.
I was just saying that's the way the standings would look in this race, and you can see the New Zealanders. Well, they're not in last place in this race because we have a boat that didn't start. But of the boats that are racing, they were the last ones as we started to head upwind for the second and final lap of race 2. We have 3 races scheduled today. They're the medal races. This is going to determine who goes home with the hardware.
The Spanish were recent winners of Kiel Week, but not all the front runners were there. Nevertheless, I'm impressed with the Spanish because they've not been long in the boat. Of course, an Olympic gold medal in any discipline, even as different between skiff racing and match racing, is still worth something. So the Spanish sailing very, very well, but they're not in medal contention for the European title this time round. Jenna May Hansen, winner of the race earlier today, just 20 minutes ago. Great tack by them. And still knocking on the door of a medal. They were 4th last year. They would dearly like to get above 4th, but they're still in 4th overall as it stands at the moment. A bear away in a bit of a gust there, but safely executed. Get that kite up before it trawls in the water. That's another danger point. Get the kite set, get the boat up to speed, and the Black Jenica is indeed up to speed for the Danes. And looking at their boat handling down the final run, I don't think they have too much to fear from the British boat just behind them. I think the Danes are up to the job of getting the boat safely down this track and across the finish line in first place, which will put them in great contention for the European title.
That's right, and a much better race this time around from Martina Grail here, Andy. It looks like they're in 3rd place going around and in 3rd place overall. So this is helping cement their position on the podium.
Yes, it is, and it's concerning times for the Kiwis because the Kiwis come here expecting to win. They are the reigning world champions. They were 3rd at the Europeans last year, but they have been the form boat. I don't know if they've worn the yellow jersey more than anyone else, but it seems like they have, and they're wearing it today. But will they be the winners of the yellow jersey, the gold medal by the end of the day? At the moment, it looks like this boat in picture is going to be the boat that takes the gold medal. It's the Danes sailing really nicely downwind. Fantastic jibes we've seen from them so far. Will they keep it together for this final run into the finish? They're just 200 or 300 meters away from crossing the line and taking the winner's gun in race 2.
And Andy, even in this short course and the confined course, it's a massive spread between first and last. And what is that down to?
I think sometimes the boundary, it's about keeping it tight, but sometimes it can make it easier to lead a race as well, and it can be more difficult for the guys behind to find clear air, to find a clear lane to get back at the leaders. So sometimes it can herd the fleet as well. But there we have confirmation that the reigning European champions are just one race away from winning another European title because they win this race with ease. They're a long way ahead of the 2nd place boat, which will be crossing shortly. That will be Charlotte Dobson and Sophie Ainsworth, about to cross for 2nd place.
Well, and Andy, importantly, not just the win here and not just the big lead over 2nd place. What's really important for the Danes is how many boats are in between them and the Kiwis. The Kiwis come into this race with the lead. They're not going to exit it with the series lead. That's we do have a change, and our overall series leader now is Ida Marie Nielsen and Marie Olsen. Great race there by the Danes, and certainly a great series that they've put together over this week. And we can see those are the overall standings with the boats in the current finishing position. And certainly it looks like, well, we know that we've got a new series leader, and it's how long can they hold on and hold that lead through to the end. And it really looked like trouble for the Kiwis somewhere down near that leeward gate. And it'll be interesting to find out after racing exactly what happened there, because their boat was nearly stopped for several seconds, and that allowed other boats to just sail past them.
Yeah, it was really confusing. They seem to have had problems in the previous race letting out their main sheet. I don't know if this was another clue as to maybe there's some sort of problem on board the boat, but of course they would have gone up next to their coach boat in between races, and they should have been able to resolve any minor issues between races. So I don't know what exactly happened there, and these are uncharacteristic boat handling errors that we're seeing from the Kiwis, who are normally so strong. You tend to think of the New Zealanders as amongst the best boat handlers in the world in pretty much any kind of racing, America's Cup, for example, and in 49er racing, both in the men's and the women's fleets, the Kiwis generally unshakable where it comes to the boat handling.
Well, they did have a few problems today, and I'm just looking at their scoreline in the Gold Fleet racing that we've done over the last couple of days. The worst finish the Kiwis had, and they discarded it, was a 7th place. And already today, with just 10 boats racing, they've got a 9th place finish on their scoreline, and that is really going to hurt them as we head in. Just one race left, and this race is going to determine who goes home with the hardware here at the 49er FX. It's the European Championships. We're in Helsinki, Finland. We've been here all week and really had some amazing racing, some great conditions. The wind has been on for most of the week. They had one day with absolutely no wind, so there wasn't light wind racing. There was just no racing that day. But the rest of the days, the breeze has been up, and certainly a real test of the crew's boat handling skills. And I think, Andy, the interesting thing in the FX class is how new a class it is, and the crews that are sailing this are still really on the steep part of the development curve.
Yes, they are, and that's what we've just witnessed in these two races just now. We're seeing the kind of errors that maybe we won't see so much of in the men's fleet. We see the current leaders, last year's European champions, also the reigning world champions, Pete Burling and Blair Tuke, the New Zealanders, and I'd be really surprised if we see those kind of boat handling errors from them or most of the men's fleet about to go out and race. But having said that, they did capsize the Kiwis on the final day's racing in Denmark last year. That didn't stop them winning the regatta, but even then, they fell in not very much wind at all.
Well, we can see the crews getting rigged up and about to launch, so they're just about ready to get out on the water. That's the racing that we'll be bringing you as soon as we're finished with the 49er FX. And again, a parallel program really here in the 49er class. Andy, we've got 3 medal races coming up in the 49er class, and as you say, in the yellow jacket, as it were, Pete Burling and Blair Tuke of New Zealand. They're leading over the reigning Olympic champion, Nathan Outeridge and Ian Jensen, and a big rivalry building there, but certainly at the moment the New Zealanders have the better of it.
Yes, they do. They've sailed almost a perfect regatta here. They've had a phenomenal set of scores in the Gold Fleet finals. They won 5 out of 6 races, but they did show that they were mortal. The race that they managed to discard from their scores was a 16th, if I remember correctly, and so they really couldn't come through from a bad starting position. So it goes to show they're not immortal, but they're not far from it right now in the 49er.
Well, they are sailing with an awful lot of confidence, and why not when you've won 5 of the last 6 races. Their main opposition, of course, Nathan Outeridge, well, he won 3 races the previous day. So he's also, and most of his scores have been within the top 5, if not the top 3. So he's certainly also primed to put up good scores on the day. But we're just waiting here for the 3rd and 4th to get underway in the 49er FX class. And we expect to be bringing that to you shortly. So the race committee gets ready, the crew's getting ready. They're getting some last-minute advice from their coaches here. And we expect to be underway in just a few moments.
So nervous moments there, although we're looking at Nathan Outeridge and Ian Jensen. Do they get nervous? I don't know. They're the reigning Olympic champions. They've won the World Championship 4 times. Maybe they don't feel nerves like most people. But they are playing second fiddle right now, because since London 2012 they haven't done so much sailing in the 49er, and that's left the way clear for the Kiwis to improve from their Olympic silver medal in London 2012, and they have gone undefeated in any regatta in which they've competed since the London 2012 games. So the Kiwis really do have the upper hand there. But Ian Jensen whistling away to himself there, getting his gloves on. You get your hands absolutely ripped to shreds if you didn't wear gloves in a 49er, just putting a reel of tape around them so that they stay securely on during hoists and drops. But the crews are so hard working on these boats. There are the big biceps of Blair Tuke getting the boat rigged. The Kiwi boat, New Zealand one. There's the other New Zealand one. Well, they weren't New Zealand one in that last race. They were last boat across the line. The British boat, GBR 99, was out of the race. But of the boats that finished that second race, New Zealand one was last. And they're going to need to improve massively on that if they're going to take this European title. At the moment, it looks like the European title is going to stay in the grasp of Ida Marie Nielsen and Marie Olsen, who won it last year in Denmark.
Well, Andy, certainly the Kiwis with an awful lot to do here if they're going to regain that overall series lead. They've been our series leader, Andy, for the last several days, so this will be a bit of a disappointment for them, no doubt. And really, their destiny not in their own hands anymore.
No, all they can do is go out and do the best they can. Hopefully for them it will be to win this race, and then occasionally look over their shoulder and hope that Ida Marie Nielsen and Marie Olsen are somewhere in the back half of the fleet.
And if you're the Danish crew, what's your mindset going into this? Because you don't need to win the race. You just need to be fourth or fifth.
Yep, so you can hang back a little bit more maybe on the starts. You just need a good average start. You don't need to be perfect. And the way they're sailing, they don't need to do anything too special. We also see that they've got fantastic boat handling. But my advice to them is just to get the kite down a little bit earlier at those leeward marks. They put themselves under a lot of pressure at those leeward marks, which I don't think they need to do.
Well, we'll see if their coach had the same advice. We'll see whether they heed that in just a few moments, as we're about to get underway in our third and final medal race here in the 49er FX class. And just a tremendous week of racing and some tremendous skills being displayed in this class, as we see the flag going up on the race committee boat, Andy.
So that's the 5 minute. We're 5 minutes away from the start of this final deciding race for the 49er FX European Championships in Helsinki. And now it's time for the crews to decide what kind of approach are they going to make. The port tack start tried by the Brazilians and the Danish sisters, the Schutters, didn't work out so well for them that time. It paid to start on starboard, make a conventional start out to the left-hand side. And the Spanish, just going out of picture there, they have been the masters of the start so far, winning the pin end on both occasions, not able to convert that around the racetrack, maybe not as experienced, the boat handling not as sharp, but they can teach the rest of the fleet a thing or two about how to line up for the start.
And already we've got a couple of boats hanging out down around this side of the line, and we'll have to watch, as you watch our pictures, you may see some of the 49ers in view as well at times. So we'll try and keep it straight as to which boats are racing and which boats are out here just getting ready for the next race.
4 minute signal goes and the blue Peter flag goes up. We've seen the U flag used in previous races. There's no need for that for David Campbell-James, the principal race officer, because he is normally able to spot anyone who's over the line in just a 10-boat fleet. But we have to see, is this a 9-boat fleet or a 10-boat fleet? Because I'm not sure if GBR 99 has managed to get back into the competition or not. We saw them drop the mainsail, lower the mainsail next to the coach boat before the previous race. So we know they've missed one race. Could just be that there are 9 boats in this final race. In any case, Kate McGregor, Katrina Best are nowhere near medal contention. So let's concern ourselves with how people are lining up. We've got 3 minutes coming up to this final start. Brazil, right-hand picture, looks like they're going to line up for a conventional starboard start. They got their fingers burnt in the previous race, didn't get a great start going out to the right-hand side, but they did still manage to finish in third in that race, so still a solid race for them. But the Brazilians and the Kiwis really need to pull out something special out of the bag if they're going to beat Denmark 11 for the European title.
Well, we are starting to get into our pre-start sequence, and as we get closer to the start gun, we're seeing the boats line up, get their slots, take their position, and the start critical. We've seen typically the boat that gets to the first mark ahead has been able to extend in these conditions if they're able to keep their boat handling together. So it is important to get off the line well, to get up to that top mark first, and that all comes down to getting a good start.
Just over 2 minutes to the start now, and the boats are very much stacked up for a conventional start on starboard. I don't see anyone thinking about the port tack start on this occasion, so it looks like we're going to have 9 boats coming out towards the left-hand side of the course. So where you start on this line is going to be critical. You've got those boundary lane ropes to think about, so if you can start up by the committee boat rather than the other end of the line, it gives you a longer run over towards the left-hand side before you reach the boundary. And that's maybe why we're seeing such a stack up at the committee boat end. Now, I don't see any shenanigans. I don't see any funny business going on. So I think Ida Marie Nielsen is just looking to sail her own race. She's not trying to put one on the Kiwis. The Kiwis look like they're the furthest right-hand boat, which potentially is good, provided they've got a lane into the committee boat, as long as no one can squeeze them out from that position. But actually, just to windward of them is Denmark 11. So 2 of the leading protagonists are quite high up on the line, looking to get a start somewhere up by the committee boat.
And Andy, if you're the Kiwi boat here, is that what you focus on? You might be trying to push back the Danish boat, and then your other point of business is then to get as far ahead as you can and hope that there's some boats in between.
Well, you'd only be doing that if you think Denmark 11 is over the ley line. If you think that Denmark 11 has been too greedy and gone too high of the committee boat and could possibly be squeezed out the wrong side, but the Kiwis actually going backwards at the moment, so that might be intentional. It might be that they didn't like their positioning. They're repositioning, and with only 34 seconds to go, it's pretty unusual to be going backwards at this stage, and I think the Kiwis haven't got the start that they or the lineup that they wanted. They're now at the back of the fleet. That gives them the most runway, but are they going to be able to accelerate with just 18 seconds to go? I'm a little bit concerned for the Kiwis, but looking at the way that they're sailing the boat, I think they would have made a move earlier than that if they were concerned. So I think maybe the Kiwis, we shouldn't be so worried about them. But with 5 seconds to go, who is going to be up there? It's the Spanish who are up there again, have a great start provided there's no individual recall, which I don't think there is. So the 3 start wins by the Spanish. Fantastic starting by Tamara Echegoyen. And the Brazilians, also a great start. Hard to tell from our perspective, but I don't think that was a fantastic start by the Kiwis. I'm not sure that they were fully up to speed.
And we're hearing all clear from the race committee, Andy, all clear.
And there are some boats already going out to the right-hand side. I can't see which date. No, it's not a Danish boat we need to concern ourselves with, because the boats we're concerned with are all going out towards the left-hand side of the track. And the best of those, I would say, is Brazil. But also a good start there by Ida Marie Nielsen. Possibly a better position there for the Danes, actually, than the Brazilians, because they have more of a runway over to the left-hand side towards that boundary rope that will force them to tack.
So the Kiwis did get a start closest to the committee boat, if that's what they were looking for. They're on starboard tack and heading out towards the left. But I think they're a little bit further back than they would have liked, Andy. Definitely second row.
It is hard to say until we see the first cross, but I think the Danes will feel quite secure. They've tacked now. Will they be able to cross the Kiwis and any other boats that are still on starboard? Yes, it looks like that's the case, and it looks like the Kiwis are some way behind the Danes and the Brazilians, so it could be the Kiwis will even slip into the bronze medal position. So now it's a matter of, can Ida Marie Nielsen capitalise on what's been a very good start for them? And at the moment they look like they're in a very strong position to wrap up the European title. Kiwis tacking over by the lane ropes. It's not all over for them, but they're really looking for unforced errors from some of the others. This is a race that's really out of the Kiwis' hands.
Yeah, they're going to need a little bit of help here if they're going to, well, certainly move up or even hold their position on the leaderboard. So we'll keep our eye on what happens with the Kiwi team. It's certainly, Andy, this looks like a great race for Brazil too.
Yes, it does. It looks like it could be a good race for silver. I don't think that Denmark 11 is going to give away enough ground for them to be able to get back into the gold. I think we're going to have to see some exceptionally poor decision-making or boat handling from the Danes for them to lose the European title at this stage. But I'm not trying to jinx them. I just think they're too good. I think the Kiwis, they've missed their opportunities in the previous race, and they weren't quite on the money coming off the start line. They had to reposition off the start line, and that left them disadvantaged at start gun time.
Well, we saw just for a second there the Australia 5 sail flash up on screen. That's Nathan Outeridge in the 49er class. They're just getting ready for their race. That'll be coming to you right after this one. This is the third and final race in the 49er FX class, and this race is going to determine our top 3 position, our medalists in the European Championships here in Helsinki, Finland. And early on in this race, certainly you would say that it's the Danish crew with the advantage.
Yes, it is. The Kiwis most left of picture, the Spanish just sailing across. The Kiwis not entirely in control of their own destiny now. They're sailing okay in this race, but okay is not good enough, because it's Denmark that went into this race with a 4-point cushion on the Brazilians and the Kiwis even further back. Sorry, 4-point cushion on the Kiwis rather. So it is only a 4-point gap, but I think that's how the standings would be right now. So that confirms that Brazil would move into silver medal position and the Kiwis would be in 3rd overall.
And that's based on the position of the boats as we see them right now. So certainly that's not locked in. We expect to see some snakes and ladders yet, but indicative of how this race is going and the impact that this race is going to have on the overall results.
The breeze is about, I would estimate, about 14, 15 knots right now. It's not as windy as it has been, so we're unlikely to see too many boat handling errors at this windward mark. I don't think it's gusty enough for that to happen. That's the kind of thing that the Kiwis need to start relying on. They want a gust to suddenly hit the fleet just as Denmark 11 is going around the windward mark, but it's Denmark 11 who leads around and they're safely borne away. Now it's get that black kite up, get it set, and they are in pole position.
And Andy, critically there, we saw a couple of late tacks by the Brazilian crew, and they actually slipped a few places back on that mark rounding. So we're going to see whether they can make that up. They've rolled into one of their favorite moves, that jibe set, as they head back towards the looking downwind, the left-hand side of the racetrack.
Yes, we see the Brazilians do that a lot, but on that occasion I don't think they sailed into very much breeze. I think the Brazilians are just getting moving now, but I think the Danes in the lead that we're looking at now have had good breeze all the way down to this boundary rope, which is now forcing them to jibe that black kite. It's not the tidiest of jibes, and it looks like they're in a little bit of a lull there.
Very soft there, doesn't it?
But they built that boat back up to pace again, and they're sailing parallel with that boundary lane rope, and they are fully up to speed again. We'll have to see how the Brazilians do down the far side of the track, but I don't see anybody really threatening the Danes as they come down within the final 200 meters to the leeward turning marks. Now, I've been critical of the way that Ida Marie Nilsson has approached these turning marks, but she's got quite a significant lead at the moment, so even with one of her slightly sloppy mark roundings, I think she'll still be leading.
Well, Andy, we'll keep our eye on that as they approach this leeward gate. This is the end of the first lap of the race. It's a 2-lap race, so we're about halfway through as they come through this gate. And again, the boats that I think we should also be keeping our eye on is the Brazilian boat, as they'll be looking for a strong finish here and a poor finish from the Kiwis, and that could allow the Brazilian team to essentially grab the silver medal.
Yes, it could. I think that's where the more interesting battle is going to happen now, because we saw the Danes make a brilliant rounding that time. They got the kite down a little bit earlier, and the Danes are moving even further in the lead. The Brazilians going out to the far side in 2nd place, so they're going to chance their arm, see what they can find out on the far side. But it's another Brazilian boat that will follow the Danish boat. So it's 3 Danish boats going out to the left-hand side of the track now. It's the Spanish and the Brazilians and the Brits, 2 British boats going out, and the Kiwis. Wow, it's a bad rounding by the Kiwis, and it's a bad position. It's all falling apart for Alex Maloney and Molly Meach. I don't really know what's going on with them today, but that was a poor rounding, and we see them some way towards the back of the pack again.
Yeah, they're nearly all the way back. So anyway, we will be following up after racing and try and find out if there's been some kind of equipment problem or what the issue is, because certainly sailing below the potential that they've shown throughout the week.
it makes you wonder if it's an injury or something like that. Maybe that's what's stopping them, because I just don't expect that kind of boat handling, and they've just not been as race sharp as we've seen them on previous days, and that's really disappointing for the reigning world champions.
Yeah, they certainly set the bar high with the way they've sailed this week, and they're just not able to live up to that potential today. But we will follow up and find out if there is any issue there. But more importantly, at the front of the fleet, the Danes looking good, and the Brazilian crew as well, Andy. I think probably doing enough here to possibly steal that silver medal. But again, they'll need some boats in between themselves and the Kiwis.
Yes, well, I think that's what they have. I think the Brazilians are doing enough. I wonder if they know that as they're sailing around the track. I think what they will know is that the gold medal has sailed away from them. The gold medal is sailing up the track as we speak in first place in this race, and a first place for Ida Marie Nielsen will give them an emphatic victory and confirm them as defending European title winners. Brazil sailing over towards the left-hand side, got ahead of the Spanish. The Spanish won that start again. I give full marks to Tamara Edgegoyen for winning the pin on 3 occasions, a hat-trick of start wins, but it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And the Danes at the moment are leading this race, and they've only got one more turning mark at the windward mark before they sail down towards the finish. Brazil here, I think we're looking at the silver medalists last year. And in fact, I think what we're looking at is an exact repeat of the same top 4 as we saw in Aarhus, Denmark for the inaugural 49er FX European Championships a year ago. So that tells us that these are the 4 standout crews. 2 Danish crews in first and fourth, and sandwiched between them. Oh, the Danish crew that I think is going to finish in fourth, not so good from them. In that moment just then, a bad tack by the look of it for Jenna May Hansen.
I think they were just about able to rescue that.
A good tack there by Ida Marie Nielsen and Marie Olsen, sailing away. No one else in the picture, because that's how far ahead they are.
And Andy, the Kiwis doing everything they can to work their way back up into the fleet on this second and final upwind leg. So not too long to go yet in this race, and not too long to go in these European Championships in the 49er FX class. Really some fantastic racing, fantastic skills shown here. And the thing that we really find when we separate into the gold fleet and then again into the medal races, the cream really does rise to the top.
Yes, and I think that what happens in this medal race, not in the medal racing, but theatre star racing, is it just emphasises it. It just... All the tiny little boat handling errors that you can get away with, all the tiny tactical decision errors that don't get emphasised so much on big course racing, they really get hammered home in this kind of short course racing.
And Andy, it looks like 136 there, the Danish crew retiring from this race. And so that's our team that's in fourth place, Jenna May Hansen, and we'll see whether they're able to hold on to fourth place with a retirement here.
They haven't entirely retrieved the spinnaker. I don't know if that's the problem. It looks to me like they're partially trawling the spinnaker, so hard to say what the problem has been there. But that's disappointing for them. I wonder, though, if they're still far enough ahead to stay in fourth place overall.
Well, let's take a look back at our current situation on the racetrack, where we do have Ida Nielsen leading the fleet down. Not too far behind is her compatriot. The Schutte sisters are just in behind in second place in this race. And then, of course, Martina Grael looking at around third place right now, and probably enough to be in second place overall.
Denmark 11 coming into their final jibe. It's just going to take one more jibe, the final moment of potential jeopardy, but not for this crew. They jibe fantastically nearly all the time. Let's see how their final jibe of the European Championships will be. It's good enough, and they are just 100 meters away from crossing the finish line. The Black Jenica setting nicely, and I wonder if the celebrations have started yet for Ida Marie Nielsen and Marie Olsen. The reigning European champions confirm their defense of their title. Congratulations to Denmark 11, and see the celebrations begin.
They got to get the kite down fast. There's not a lot of sea room here, but wow. How happy are they, Andy?
Well, you can see how happy they are. There was a high five there, but as you said, Peter, not too long for celebrations, because otherwise you hit the rocks, get the kite down, and then give each other a hug. and maybe someone will be diving overboard.
There it is, the moment of celebration. Arms in the air. Really a great win, and probably all the sweeter for having to come back and move up a place on the last day.
Yes, they didn't go into the day wearing the yellow jersey, but they've got the gold medal, and the Kiwis have to see that gold medal come back. They have to come back for that another year, because I think they're going to get the bronze medal again. Brazil, the silver medal again. So the same medals to the exact same teams as a year ago.
Well, that is your champion here at the European 49er FX Championships here in Helsinki, Finland. We can see there's Brazil on the left of screen and the Kiwi boat, and they are second and third place, our silver and bronze medalists.
Really surprised to see that there wasn't more of a fight put up by the Brazilians and the Kiwis. I didn't think that the Danes would get it that easily. I thought in this kind of breeze the Kiwis would be perhaps the strongest, but that's not how the Danes saw it.
No, and really they didn't put a foot wrong here today, Andy, and it would have been very, very tough. You would have needed some very good results to push that Danish crew back.
What we did see in the first race is that there were a lot of unforced errors when the wind was maybe a little bit stronger, and even Denmark 11 weren't entirely immune to boat handling errors, but in the final two races they just didn't put a foot wrong.
So we can confirm a third place finish in that race for Martijn Grael, and I think that's going to be enough to confirm the silver medal.
So the pecking order is beginning to show itself in this class. It's still less than 2 years old, but right now, if you had to call who the medals were going to go to in Rio 2016, a couple of years from now, you'd say it was going to go Denmark, New Zealand and Brazil, because they are the standout performers in the 49er FX. But the learning curve is still steep, and it will be teams like the British, who are not far off the pace, who will be wondering what they need to do to be able to start taking on the likes of Ida Marie Nielsen and Marie Olsen and stop them winning more European titles between now and Rio 2016.
Well, and again, I think if you look at the strength of the overall squads, it's certainly encouraging for the British team to have 3 crews here on racing on the medal racing day in this theater style racing. Denmark as well with 3 crews. So that really shows the strength of the overall sailing squad.
Yes, it does. And in contrast, say, to the Kiwis or the Brazilians, where it's one really standout team, and those nations really putting their primary resources into those teams and making sure they're the best they can be. Well, the Red Bull, it just wasn't on a charge today, and that surprises me. And yeah, I should think different body language on board those 2 teams right now.
Well, certainly a come-from-behind victory here for Ida Marie Hansen and her Danish team. They came into the day in second place, although really just 1 point behind. So it's not like they were scratching and clawing from the basement to get up there. But certainly they were in second place coming in today. But they're leaving as champions, and some great feelings on board that boat, no doubt.
And they must be real fans of theatre style racing, because they seem to be getting it right more often than most of the other crews. The Brazilians have won an awful lot of major regattas this year, and I think they'll be slightly disappointed that this was another one they haven't managed to win. But even so, silver medal for Brazil, very good.
Yeah, the Brazilians were probably the most up and down team here, Andy, because we certainly saw them with some outstanding results, but there were several races as well where they were in the teens, you know, or 10, 11, 12. And we've seen that over the last couple of days, and if they were just able to get slightly more consistent, I think we would have seen them maybe pushing harder for that overall win. But they couldn't quite get there. And there we can see them coming ashore now. And that is the great thing about the racetrack here. Not only is the theater-style racing close to shore for spectators, but we're right beside the venue and the boat park as well. So we get the crews on shore nice and quick.
We do. We have a grandstand view here. We're very lucky. And it is a good venue. and we've seen some fantastic breeze today. I think some of the crews came here thinking this was going to be a light wind regatta, and it's not worked out that way. One of the British teams I was speaking to last night didn't make it through to the finals, having a few beers to console themselves, say that they basically chose the wrong kit. They've got a favourite mast for light winds, a favourite mast for strong winds, and they picked the wrong gear. And they're pretty surprised that Helsinki has produced as much breeze as it's turned out to do.
All right, I think we're going to go and see if we can get an interview here live on the water with the new European champions.
Thank you guys. So all I can say is congratulations, delighted, our two-time European 49er FX champions. So what's next? What's the preparation between now and Santander? Because obviously that's the big event this year.
Yeah. Now we're going to have 2 weeks of no sailing, and after that we're going to Santander for training.
Okay, well, the audio not great coming off the water there, so we'll try and catch up with some of these crews in a few moments as they come off the water. And certainly, again, the advantage of our studio position right beside the boat park is that we can typically have access to some of the crews as we shift our attention now, Andy, to the 49er class, as we're just about to get into racing here in the 49er class.
And we just saw GBR10 sail across the screen, just sail out of picture, and appropriately it's GBR10 who come into this in 10th place. It's John Pink and Stu Bithell. They won the repechage, they won the right to get back in the Petit final race earlier today, and they beat the Croatians for the right to come back in and compete against the top 9 in these final 3 races for the men in the 49er European Championships.
So, Andy, if we take a look at that leaderboard right now, at the top, Pete Burley and Blair Tuke. Right behind them, Nathan Outeridge and Ian Jensen. I say right behind, but there's an 11-point margin between the two of them. And we've got Dylan Fletcher from the UK 3 points further back. It really looks like this could be a battle. Again, focusing on the top 4, but maybe Pete Burley is almost all but out of reach already. We'll see what happens in the first race here, but if he has a solid finish in this first race, I think the fights are going to be between the top 5 to see who can get medals, silver and bronze.
Yes, I think Pete Burling and Blair Tuke are going to be very hard to catch, but I thought that about the Kiwi girls in the NZL1 in 49er FX. Will it be different for NZL1 in the 49ers? Reigning world champions for the Kiwis in both the men's and the women's divisions, which speaks volumes about the strength of their program right now.
Well, we are into our start sequence, I believe, now, Andy, and just a few minutes away from getting into race 1. You're watching the European Championships 49er FX and 49ers. Well, the 49er FX is just concluded. The 49ers, 3 races left. They're going to be short, they're going to be sharp, they're going to be intense. If you're just joining us, we're talking about theater-style racing. And Andy, just remind us what that means, theater-style racing.
Theatre-style racing, we've got 3 races for the top 10 only in the European Championships. But the thing that's really different is not only is the course short, but it's not very wide either. It's 750 metres long and it's only 450 metres wide. And the reason for that is we got boundary ropes up either side of the course. It's like a big swimming pool, but it's like a very, very small racetrack for boats as fast as the 49er. It's exactly the same racetrack as we just saw for the 49er FX, but the thing is these boats are a little bit faster. So they're going to be tearing around this track even more quickly than we saw with the girls just now. And we see the European champions for the second time running. We see, I think it's Marie Olsen in the water, just swimming the boat ashore. And there'll be some big celebrations for the Danes when they get ashore here in Helsinki shortly.
All right, well, we go back and shift our focus to the men and the 49er class. And we are in medal racing day here in Helsinki, Finland. The wind conditions, Andy, we've seen the wind up and down a little bit. It's a little bit more offshore, directly off the shoreline as well, which makes it quite shifty and quite puffy. But what strength do you think we have now?
It's about 15, 16 knots. I don't think that's going to cause too many boat handling problems for the boys, but I said that about the girls, and the next thing I see was a few capsizes and some very shaky moments for some of the girls. I'd be surprised if we see that for the boys, and particularly the boat we're looking at. It's the reigning Olympic champions, Australia 5, Nathan Outridge and Ian Jensen.
Well, they are in second place coming into today's racing, 11 points behind the gold medal position. So they've got a lot of work to do. They're going to need a little bit of help. They're going to need some wins here, and they're going to need some boats in between them and the New Zealanders if they're going to make up that deficit. I know Nathan Outridge certainly focused on that kind of a prize, but he'll also be trying to protect that second place position. And really, Nathan Outridge and Ian Jensen, their regatta has been defined by consistency, Andy. They've had a whole slew of top 5 finishes, and normally that puts you in pretty good stead in the 49er fleet, but Pete Burling's had something to say because he's been consistent as well, and his consistency has been in winning.
Winning 5 out of the 6 races in the Gold Fleet finals. He discarded his 16th. He went into today with a perfect score. He couldn't have done any better than he's done. We've got 1 minute to the start now, and who is looking like they want that port tack start this time? We saw a couple of the girls try it just now. It looks like it's going to be John Pink and Stu Bithell. They've carried the Willy Wonka golden ticket into this final, but no, it looks like everyone is going to line up for starboard tack start, but it's going to be the British with not much to lose, to be honest. Then they know they're not in with a chance for a medal, so maybe they're going to see if they can win the pin, do what the Spanish managed to do just now in the 49er FX, which was win all of the starts.
And you can see just to the right of your screen, tacking there was the Australian 5 boat. That was Nathan Outridge coming in a little bit late to try and find his slot in, and maybe not too much of a surprise. He's not far away from Pete Burling and NZL1.
Most left of picture, closest to the line is Giuseppe Angelello, Italy 22. And there they get going, and it looks like Italy 22 has won the pin at this end. But good starts also for New Zealand, and not such a good start for Australia. Australia starts second row, and not great there by the reigning Olympic champions, and very much in the bad air of some of the other boats. And one of those boats is the Kiwis, their great rivals, who have a fantastic start out to the left-hand side.
Well, Andy, with about 30 seconds left, Nathan Outridge was on port tack behind the fleet, trying to find somewhere to slot in. And I don't know if he ever really did find his spot there.
No, it looks like he didn't manage to do that. That's Dylan Fletcher, Alan Syme tacking away there, the British boat lying in 3rd overall. But this is a really good start by New Zealand 1. Italy 22, Giuseppe Angelello. He'll be the first to reach the boundary ropes. You can just see one of the pink markers which forces the Italians to tack. But the Kiwis cross ahead of them. They'll be tacking very shortly. And when they tack, if they can cross everybody else on starboard tack, then this is a great start. And it looks like they're coming out on quite a high angle. I say that, but it looks like maybe they're having to duck the Austrians, maybe duck the Australians. So not terrible by Nathan Outridge after all, but they've got that tack to do, which the Kiwis have already completed. But the Australians by no means out of it. Still a pretty good first half of the beat for the Aussies, but I would say I'd rather be where the Kiwis are on left of our picture.
And I think certainly a little bit less pressure on Pete Burling with that 11-point buffer. He's got a little bit of margin to work with there.
And Dylan Fletcher and Alan Syme, they have been the top European boat at these European Championships the last 2 years, but they haven't won it outright because it's those Australians that won it 2 years ago, and it's those Kiwis that won it last year, stealing the European title away from the Europeans themselves. Attacked by the Austrians on our right of picture. Another British crew coming towards us. That's GBR 10, John Pink and Stu Bithell. The Germans, Eric Heil, Thomas Plussel, 3rd in last year's World Championships, 4th coming into today. They will be sailing hard to try and get ahead of the British and see if they can get a bronze medal.
That's right, 5 points back from that bronze medal position. So some good results today could certainly move them onto the podium.
Lots of tacking to be done here. We'll see GBR 10 tack shortly. Those lane boundaries forcing them to tack away. Looks like the Germans might have tacked on the face of the Brits there. Germans giving some bad gas to the British. Dylan Fletcher and Alan Syme sailing in from the right of screen. And will they have a piece of the Brits? Will they be able to force their teammates to tack away? Or will GBR 10 duck and go underneath them? Looks like GBR10 is going to go underneath, and GBR4 is going to slot between the Germans and their British compatriots. Dylan Fletcher and Alan Syne would dearly love to get in amongst those Antipodeans, the Kiwis and the Australians, but at the moment it's the Olympic gold and silver medalists from London 2012 that really are the form boats in the 49er at the moment.
Well, Andy, it has to be said for the British, a silver medal here is certainly very possible. They come in just 3.5 points off. So they could certainly, with some good races here today, sneak silver and take that away from Nathan Outteridge. But they'll need to have some good results early, especially, to give themselves the chance.
Simultaneous tacking there by the Kiwis and the Australians, and it looks like the Kiwis have tacked right on the face of the Australians, giving them bad gas. Germany going round first. A great start to the campaign for Eric Harlan Thomas Plussel to get onto the podium. They're in 4th overall at the moment, but the boat that's in 3rd overall is going round in 2nd. It's Dylan Fletcher and Alan Syne going round by the current series leaders, jibing immediately, a jibe hoist for the Kiwis, followed by the Aussies. So the Kiwis and the Aussies, 1st and 2nd overall, sailing out towards the right-hand side, and I would guess that they have seen a nice gust on that side of the picture, that side of the course that they want to try and use to get ahead of the leaders, Germany and Great Britain, coming down this side of the track. A jibe coming up now for Germany. How will it go? Will the SAP kite get through cleanly? Yes, it will, and the Brits have already jibed the other side of them, but already you can see that the Kiwis have made ground on the far side, and they are in danger of rolling the Brits, but Germany's still leading, still holding on.
Well, Andy, the Kiwis have just shown some fantastic speed this week. Not only is their boat handling probably setting the bar for the fleet, but their speed is as well, and that's a really difficult combination to compete against. We heard some of the British crews saying they're not quite sure why the Kiwis are so fast here, but certainly the speed that they've shown has been very, very impressive.
And the Kiwis, out of picture at the moment, they are threatening to come down and maybe even get ahead of the Germans. It could be that they picked up an amazing gust on the far side, and they could be threatening to take the lead already. And it's between Germany and New Zealand as Blair Tuke runs in and gets that white Jenica down. Who's going to be able to get round this mark first? Well, it could be a split. It could be that Germany, but we see a boat falling over, and I wonder who that is. Someone has fallen over. We think it might be Australia.
I think it might be Nathan Outteridge.
Nathan Outteridge, what a disaster. He had to put on those swimming goggles during the London 2012 Olympics after the Australian press took the mickey out of him falling in during the Olympic Games. He won the gold medal despite falling in, but is he going to win the gold medal here? I don't think so. If this is the way he's going to sail, because Pete Burling and Blair Tuke will be having a little chuckle to themselves. Their great mates, the Australians, have gone for a swim.
Well, and more than that, Andy, he's going to need to be concerned about winning a medal at all. If he ends up at the tail end of the fleet in this first race, he's going to need some very good results. So certainly pressure on, or coming on, for the Australian team here with a capsize here. Really, really difficult position that Nathan Outteridge is putting himself in.
Well, this is all playing into the hands of the Kiwis, just sailing out of picture. An Italian boat there. But there's the Austrians. They won a race yesterday. They're not in medal contention. They've won medals at major championships before. They were 4th in the Olympic Games 2 years ago, an agonizing 4th place for them.
Well, absolute disaster to start the day here for Nathan Outteridge. As you say, he's swimming when he should be sailing, and most importantly, he's looking at his competition here, and Dylan Fletcher, he'll be happy with that. He might be able to steal the silver medal, and then it really opens the door for Eric Hall to come into the podium positions here, Andy.
And it looks like those scores, if those include the current standings, it looks like the Aussies will have slipped to 4th overall, and that now the battle is really a very tight 3-way battle for silver. I don't think anyone's going to get back to the Kiwis the way they're sailing, but it's a very open fight between Great Britain, Germany and Australia for the silver and bronze medals.
Yep. 3 into 2 does not go, so only 2 of them are going to go home with a medal, and that's what the battle's going to be. Just a couple of points likely to separate them, so that's what the next 2 races are going to be about. Now, that being said, Pete Burling hasn't won this championship yet, but he has just about confirmed it.
So Fletcher leading. He saw the Kiwis just have to take his transom. They couldn't quite get ahead of him. So Great Britain in the lead, just tacking there, and they will be very aware of the fact that Nathan Outridge and Ian Jensen capsized. They are now back upright, but they're a good 200 metres behind the rest of the fleet now, and not even the Olympic champions are going to come back from that. This is going to be a last place for the Aussies, leaving themselves a lot to do if they're going to get back. Well, I think the gold medal's gone. It's a matter of can they salvage the silver, because they're in 4th place overall right now.
Well, we are on the second lap of the racetrack, just 2 laps in each of these races, very short races, about 10 minutes each in this theater style. So that also doesn't play into your hands if you're at the back of the fleet. You don't have a lot of time to try and get back into it. But one of the other things that does, it doesn't give you very much time to prepare for the next race, Andy. What kind of impact could that have for Nathan Outridge?
They're fit boys. It can take it out of you getting the boat upright from a capsize, but they're fit, they're strong, and I don't think it's going to shake them that much. I think it'll be really interesting to see how they bounce back from it. I wouldn't rule them out from winning the silver medal or the bronze medal whatsoever. I think they are very capable of winning the silver, even if they are in 4th overall. But at the moment, not much for them to take out of this race. Most of the leaders jibe setting. We see Pete Burling and Blair Tuke coming down there. They love that jibe set, and they make it work so well for them as well. They do seem to have an extra click of pace downwind. It's not that they're slow upwind either. I'd say they're fast around the track all the way around, partly due to the fact that they're one of the biggest crews around. Pete Burling, he's a tall guy, he's skinny, but we reckon he probably weighs maybe about 85, 86 kilos, which is a lot for a 49er helmsman. But you can make all of it work for you on a day like today.
Well, certainly they've taken full advantage of the fresh conditions here in Helsinki, Finland. And we said coming into the day they'd won 5 of the last 6 races. They look like they're on track to make it 6 out of 7. And that kind of dominance just does not happen very often in a fleet of this quality. So full marks to the New Zealand crew here, because they've just had an outstanding few days here.
Yeah, I wonder if they're surprising even themselves. They haven't done a huge amount of sailing in the boat in the last year and a half, as far as I know. But the sailing that they have done, I'd say they're sailing even better than they were in the build-up to the London 2012 when they won that silver medal.
So those race results that you see on screen, well, they're not the results. They're the positions as we see them right now. And, of course, those will be finalized soon as the boat's coming down to the finishing line and just about crossing the line now. The New Zealand crew taking their first win of the day. And will they be able to win another couple? Because they're on a roll right now, Andy. 6 of 7 race wins now for the Kiwis.
And what a massive gain they made on the rest of the fleet down that final run. They just stretched away like the rest of the fleet was stood still. But it's Dylan Fletcher and Alan Syme getting a crucial point just ahead of the Germans in 3rd across the line, the Austrians in 4th.
And when we say just, they are just ahead. Very close finish there.
But absolutely critical for the British that they got another point between them and the Germans, because it's very close between those two. And we shouldn't forget the boat bringing up the rear. It's Nathan Outridge and Ian Jensen only now going around the windward mark. Well, the Kiwis...
Yeah, a full leg behind.
Yeah, how humiliating for the Australians. The reigning Olympic champions, but not showing gold medal winning form in this race. A clear 10th. For Australia 5, leaving them with a lot to do. They're in a 3-way battle now between Great Britain, Germany and Australia for the silver and bronze medals, because I don't think anyone is going to take the gold away from the Kiwis.
No, the Kiwis just need to essentially go out and sail the next race, and they'll have things locked up, Andy, and that is in the 49er class. You can see the crowds gathered on the docks here, and that's some of the other sailors here watching the gold medal action in the 49er class. And we've got some very special guests about to join us here in the studio from the 49er FX class. And Andy?
So, yes, we have Ida Marie Nielsen and Marie Olsen, the new European champions. Congratulations, but I say you're not so new because you won it last year as well. You're the only girls who've ever won a European title in the 49er FX. How was it? Which is the sweetest, last year's or this year's?
It's difficult to compare because I think the level went up quite a bit from last year to this year. But last year was really special for us because it was in our hometown and there was a lot of people cheering for us. But so I think it's difficult to say.
And is it a little bit more special when you come from behind? You went in today. It was just 1 point back, but you were in second place when you started the day. How does it feel to make that kind of a comeback and win?
It's more exciting when you're not leading by a lot of points. Last year we won after the second middle race, but this time we could lose all 3 medals in the last race if we were quite unlucky. So we had more nerves on this time. It was more scary, but it went all right.
there, in that first race, there were some scary boat handling moments for nearly all the crews. I think we saw the Germans capsize and we saw the Kiwis struggle to bear away at the mark. And if I remember rightly, you might have had some problems yourself in that race as well. That was quite a shaky first race for the fleet.
I think all of us, all the sailors, was a bit nervous and the wind just picked up quite a bit. So that made the boat handling quite difficult. I don't think we were close to capsize, but we struggle a bit with the speed and stuff, but we find out what to do and it went better.
Fantastic jibing as well. You were sailing the boat so smoothly and you look like you really are the masters in those conditions. Were you surprised that the Kiwis didn't bring more of a fight to you today?
It's a long time since we sailed against them last in these conditions, so we didn't really knew what we could expect from them. So we actually didn't knew what to expect, but normally they're quite good in the breeze.
Well, fantastic. And how will you be celebrating this evening?
We'll probably go out and party, and some of my family is here and we'll party with them as well.
And we're going to see the Football World Championship as well.
Yeah.
Who are you cheering for?
I don't.
Decided.
The one which is winning.
The one that's winning. Football's the winner.
Yeah, we do the same in here.
Well, Denmark was the winner just now, and congratulations to you both. Great to watch it happen.
Thank you very
you.
much.
Well, great to see there Andy Rice, the 49er FX champions, and our focus shifting back and forth between the two classes here at the European Championships. We're about to shift back to the 49er class, and just some more information coming in from that last race, and we'll try and bring you that in a second about something going on with the Australian boat, maybe some word of a protest, and we'll find out what the impact of that could be on the race results, because of course the results are decided on the water, protests are decided on the water. As I understand it, there's no recourse to the jury room after racing's concluded.
No, so interesting moments, and to be a fly on the wall of that rib right now and know what the discussion
I think we've got something here.
There is a protest from Australia 5 onto GBR 10.
Okay, so there we hear it, a protest from Australia 5 onto GBR 10, and I suppose one of the possible repercussions on that could be an award of redress for that race, or we're getting a head shaking now. It doesn't look like that would be the situation. So the results on the water pretty set in stone.
My interpretation is that there's no ability for a sailor to protest another sailor after the race. We'll see if the umpires confirm that.
Okay, so we're waiting to hear word from the umpires on the race course. And of course, Andy, the absolutely critical decisions being made by the umpires here, because the points are so close, as we know, for second, third, and fourth place.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, all that the Aussies are going to gain out of that is the disqualification of GBR 10, and all they can gain out of it is not redress, but just a single point difference, a single point improvement to their race score. But that point could be the difference between silver, bronze, or nothing. So you can understand why they're taking it to the, we can't say protest room because there's no protest room out there. Let's call it a protest rib. Everything is heard out there on the water.
Yeah.
So we hear that John Pink is indeed on the rib, going through the protest to determine what exactly happened towards the bottom gate at the bottom of the first lap when the Australians fell in.
And we're getting all the information coming into us via radio and being relayed, so we should have some more information in just a moment. Yeah, both crews getting into the same rib to plead their cases, and so it will be a moment or two before we're able to bring you the start of race 2. Certainly a faster process than what would happen if it went into the jury room, Andy, but it does slow things down a little bit in between races here.
Well, we're hearing calls from the spectators for a boxing match between Australia and Great Britain. but we understand it's going to be settled in a more civilized manner. And we'll wait and see what the outcome of that is. And then we'll know a little bit later on by the end of these races whether that was a crucial point or not.
It could have been settled on the football pitch had either country represented a little bit better in the World Cup, but that wasn't to be either.
Says the Canadian, who did so well at this World Cup. But coming back to the sailing, let's wait and see what comes out of this. You have to think that also left in charge of these boats are two crews who don't normally steer the boat, and they've only got half the body weight on board to look after the boats, while the helmsmen are sitting in the protest rib.
Well, we'll see whether anybody goes upside down in between races. If anything, though, Andy, it looks like the breeze is softening just a little bit. Certainly from what we had, I think probably the strongest wind races we had was maybe the one of those first two 49er FX races. I wouldn't say we're in any danger of the breeze easing completely here, but it's certainly softer than what it was earlier this afternoon.
No, it's I would say it's now about 14 knots of breeze, which this calibre of sailor, it's well within their limits to be able to sail the boat hard, to really throw the boat around. But I was really impressed by the way that the Kiwis throw the boat around through the jibes. Fantastic boat handling to watch Pete Burling and Blair Tuke go through their jibes, really aggressive with the boat. And I don't think I'd ever buy a second-hand boat off Burling and Tuke, because I think it's probably knackered by the time they've finished with it. Anyway.
Yeah, they're certainly using it to all of its ability and more. So while we're waiting for race 2 in the 49er class, we're going to shift back to the 49er FX, Andy, and another special guest here from the racing.
Molly Meach, thanks for joining us, and commiserations. I guess I'm not congratulating you on a bronze medal. You were after the gold today, weren't you?
Definitely, I guess, going out in the leading position, we were really hoping to defend it. But I guess Ed and Marie, they sailed really well, and I think they deserved it. So, yeah, congratulations to them.
They did sail fantastically. What can you put your sailing down to today? You just look slightly off colour.
Yeah, I think... I don't know. We've made a few mistakes, and I think there's a lot of lessons that we can take away from today, and hopefully we can put them all into our next big regatta, which is going to be the ISAF Worlds in Santander. So hopefully we'll come back out firing.
Can you just fill us in on what happened at the Windward Mark? I think it was in the first race. You're in good shape, but you couldn't bear away straight away. What was the issue?
Yeah, we just got hit by a massive gust, and we didn't feel like the boat was going to bear away nicely, so we just held a little bit longer and waited until we felt safe. I think it was quite a tight lay-in, which made it, the speed was quite slow, so yeah, hard to bear away. Just one of those things, I guess.
Yeah, commiserations. I know you were hoping for more, and I'm sure you'll be bouncing back for Santander in the World Championships. You're the reigning world champion, and we wish you the best there.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, well, the 49er FX class, they finished their racing a little bit earlier today. We're looking at 49er class, waiting for race 2. We've had race 1 already, and the New Zealanders, Pete Burling and Blair Tuke, well, they won that race. Their 6th of 7 race wins, and really solidifying their position at the top of the table. But Andy Rice, we've got a real battle on our hands for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place, and I think that's where our attention is going to stay through these next 2 races.
Yes, I think so. We did see Pete Burling and Blair Tuke capsize on the final day of the European Championships last year ago in not very much wind at all, actually, so they're not infallible. But no, I can't see it going any other way than a gold medal for New Zealand in the men's 49er.
And meanwhile, we're looking at GBR 10, a boat that was involved in a protest with Australia 5 with Nathan Outeridge, and currently that protest being heard on one of the ribs with the ISAF jury, and we'll get word as to what the effect of that protest is on the scoreboard in just a few moments, and then as soon as that's over, we'll be able to get into the 2nd race of the day. And it's really been an extraordinary championship here in Helsinki, Finland. The wind conditions, well, they haven't been consistent, but they have been breezy. We've had the wind up, and that's been an extraordinary thing for these sailors. Every single day, good breeze on the racetrack, bar one, and on that day they didn't race in light winds. They just didn't race at all. with the wind being down. And Andy, we've got another guest with us just now.
Yeah, this is Ian Barker. He's the Olympic silver medalist in the 49er from Sydney 2000, many moons ago, Ian, or Billy as you tend to be known these days.
I get called lots of things, Andy.
Yes, most of them behind your back. But what would you say we've learnt from watching the first race of the men's 49er just now?
Well, as you say, the Kiwis are asserting their dominance on everyone, aren't they? They're sailing very well, going very fast, and it's going to be really hard for anyone to stop them. But a lot depends on this protest they're talking about now as to everybody else. Never seen it before, actually, but doing a protest in the middle of the series like this. And I'm sure somebody's not going to be happy at the end of it. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who can prevail over the three who are in the hunt for silver. I'm not sure who I'd put my money on.
You know, the performance of Peter Burling and Blair Tuke, it's really been dominant. And it's not that there's not class in this fleet. There's some great skill in this fleet. What are they doing so well?
Everything, in short. The boat handling is really solid. They're sailing very cleverly, as always. Heads out the boat and making, a lot more right decisions than wrong. Their speed is very good, and as you said earlier, downwind especially, they seem to be going very fast. And that's pretty much it. And everyone, it's a standard that everyone's, has got to look at and figure out how to get up there.
You won the silver medal in Australia 14 years ago in Sydney. They won the silver medal 2 years ago in London 2012. How have things changed since then? What have been the progressions in 49er sailing?
Not a huge amount. The boats are different now. Obviously, the rigs are a little bit more modern. Carbon fibre rigs are a bit lighter and the sails are bigger. I think we only sailed them for 3 or 4 years beforehand, so the standard of sailing now is probably better, especially in a breeze, a little bit. But other than that, it's pretty much the same.
Now, you finished your 49er career with a silver medal around your neck, but you started it with a water bottle at the top of your mast, which was very unfashionable. I should say it wasn't full of water, it was empty, wasn't it? So just tell us about that. You were known as Captain Splash, if I remember.
Well, that was after the water bottle. My first boat came with 2 masts, and the first day I unpacked it, a lorry drove into one and broke it, and I couldn't afford another one. So the milk bottle was to stop it going upside down and snapping, which it did successfully.
Well, we all laughed at you until we turned our own masts upside down and broke them at Hyères Olympic Regatta, so it probably proved to be quite a wise move, but it definitely didn't look cool.
No, probably didn't look cool, but saved me a lot of money.
So from a coach's perspective, how much are you seeing from outside the track? Can you get a sailor's perspective looking from the edge of the course?
Yeah, I can see most things from where I sit. I think overall the standard of this regatta has been pretty good, probably the most competitive regatta we've seen this year. And people have got a few weeks now to fine-tune things before the Worlds. So that's going to be another good regatta, and I would imagine probably similar people in the hunt for that are doing well here.
And for Rio itself, hang on, we might just be hearing some information about the race. We'll just hold on for that.
Here we go.
International jury is that AUS 5, Australia 5 requested redress against an incident with GBR 10. In accordance with Addendum Q, no redress was given.
Well, there you have it. So the results on the water stand, no redress given to Nathan Outeridge, and really that puts the Australians out of the medal hunt right now. They're on the outside looking in, Andy, and they'll have a lot of work to do to get back into that. They're in 4th place, Germany in 3rd, and what are they going to need to do to get back?
Well, they're still only a few points back from the silver medal position, and we are talking about the Olympic champions and the four-time World Championship winners, so I wouldn't rule them out just yet. I think we're going to see some really good sailing from Australia 5 And, well, let's see. I said they wouldn't capsize, and they did capsize, so maybe I'm putting another hex on them. But I think we'll see the Australians bounce back very strongly.
All right, well, we are expecting to get underway very shortly with the second of 3 races here today, but certainly the first one full of drama, full of surprise, except maybe at the head of the fleet, where Peter Burling and Blair Tuke won their 6th race out of the last 7, and being able to go 6 of 7, well, that's pretty good, Andy, and that certainly puts you in a very powerful and dominant position as you head into the final 2 races of the day.
It sure does, and they don't make many mistakes, these guys, right now, and they're a really solid unit. I think they've been sailing together for many, many years already. They're great mates. They're very Kiwi. They were chucking a odd-shaped ball around in the boat park earlier, and they looking very relaxed going into today's racing.
All right, well, we have had 1 race, second race coming up. Taking a look out of our open-sided office here, out onto the racetrack. What are you seeing in terms of trends with the wind?
The breeze is still around the 14 knot mark, so it's not going to be super challenging. It's going to be good, solid power sailing, and I think that's going to play into the hands of the Kiwis because they're tall and they're quite heavy compared with most of the other crews, and they've got great boat speed. So I think the Kiwis are going to be very fast on this racetrack.
Well, we are watching as the teams start to get ready for the second race with just not too much time left to go here, Andy. And the weather conditions, well, we just spoke about them. We're in that power sailing range.
Yeah, they are. But really, we want to focus very closely on the position differences between the Australians, the Brits and the Germans in this next race and see how things shape up. I've still got faith that the Australians can bounce back from that capsize and can still get the silver medal. They're quality sailors.
Well, yeah, as we've been talking about, the real focus of the next 2 races is going to be to see who gets, well, first of all, who gets a medal, and then if you can get the silver or the bronze. Burling and Tuke, well, they haven't quite earned the gold medal yet, but they've all but earned it. Really not very much left to do for them to consolidate at the head of the fleet, but really the battle for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. And some real quality sailors in that battle. The team we probably haven't talked about as much, Andy, is the Germans, Eric Hale and Thomas Plossel. What's their story? What's their quality? What did they come in with?
Well, they recently won Kiel Week, albeit the competition wasn't quite as strong as it had been, as it is here. But they won Parma last year. They were 3rd at the European Championships a year ago. So they, at a minimum, they want to get back on the podium, and really they want to improve on that bronze medal from last year. But I would say, in terms of the form book, of the 4 teams that we're looking at, I would say that they probably are the 4th ranked. I would put Dylan Fletcher and Alan Syne ahead of them. In fact, the order that they're sitting overall at the moment, I would say, is sort of the order of form at the moment. The Kiwis, the Australians, the Brits and the Germans. That's pretty much, I would say, a good reflection of their overall form.
All right, well, that was their order coming into the day. That's not the order they sit in right now. The Australians on the outside looking in, and we are into a start sequence here for the 49er class. We're going to go back to the 49er FX for just a moment here, Andy, as we have some more special guests in with us.
Well, congratulations. If you're wondering where you finished, we reckon you got a silver medal. So I want to ask you, Martine Grael and Kahena Kunze, happy to win the silver or sad not to win the gold?
Very happy to win the silver.
Fantastic. Well, congratulations. You did that last year as well, so you got the silver medal 2 years in a row. And just tell us, what were the key moments for you today?
I don't know. I think we did really nice and consistent races, like only the first one, but I think we could manage the race course area.
I think it was our best medal since of all the medals, because I don't think we don't have much training on them, and we kind of nearly capsized in the first one, so the second and the third saved the day. So
Well, fantastic. You haven't sailed much in strong winds, but you've had a lot of strong winds to contend with this week. So to come away with the silver medal is fantastic for you, fantastic for Brazil. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Well, we do shift our focus back to the 49er class now. Just a few minutes left, Andy, before we get into the start here in race 2. And conditions out on the racetrack still fairly consistent. We're in that maybe 13, 14, 15 knot range. It is a little bit softer than our maximum level when we came into the racing. And it certainly softened a little bit from the top level in the 49er FX racing, but still plenty of breeze out on the racetrack. And looks like we've just lost one of our cameras. There we are, back up. In the right side of your frame, you see the Australian Nathan Outeridge. He came into the day's racing in second place, maybe with some thoughts of a gold medal. Those will be probably out the window now. They capsized in the first race of the day, and they are sitting just outside right now in, I think they are on equal points maybe for fourth place, or maybe they've just squeezed in to a third place position going into this race.
Well, as I see it, Burling, I think, has a 20-point gap now back to Outeridge. So that pretty much that does put him on beyond reach, actually. So, oh, sorry, yeah, no, of course. So Dylan Fletcher on 44.4 points.
Yeah, so it's not quite done, but it's all but done in terms of the gold medal. However, the silver medal and the bronze medal, well, there's 3 teams looking for those last 2 podium positions. That's the Australians, the British, and the Germans. 3 quality teams. Probably the most consistent performer up until now, you would say, has been Nathan Outeridge. He's had a string of top 5 finishes, but with that capsize, he's left himself vulnerable to even being on the outside looking in terms of a medal position. That being said, I think probably among the more experienced, certainly one who's dealt with a lot of pressure before, and I think he'll be fairly, if anything, I think he'll be pretty fired up after that capsize and after the result of that jury hearing, Andy. I would expect to see them come out fighting right now.
Well, when Ben Ainsley gets angry, he sails faster. I don't know Nathan Outeridge well enough to know if it's the same for him, but there's plenty of motivation here. And we're coming up 25 seconds to the line, to the start, and it's very close to the line for GBR4. Not far back is New Zealand 1, and in second row at the moment are the Australians. So leaving themselves a lot to do again.
And this is what happened to them in the start of the first race of the day as well.
10 seconds to go, and GBR4 is well poked out. They can't afford to accelerate too early because they're already well up on the line. Good acceleration by New Zealand 1, and New Zealand 1 wins the pin, and that's the kind of start that's going to be hard to come back from. But let's focus more on the battle for silver and bronze.
Wow, and you can really see the acceleration there by the New Zealand boat, can't you?
You can.
Very impressive.
It's not a bad start there for Australia 5. They were well back at with 15 seconds to go, but they accelerated nicely, and they've got a pretty good start off the line there.
Well, all the top contenders looking good. The boat we need to try and identify and find and see where they are right now is the German boat as well, Andy. We want to keep our eye on them.
I think they went out to the far right-hand side, so they're the only boat of the ones that we're looking at that went out to the right-hand side, and there we see them on the right-hand side of picture, Germany 12. But the rest of the battle between the British, GBR4, and the Australians, they're sailing out to the far side. The Kiwis also, and I would say leading the charge out to the left-hand side, but that gold medal is pretty much in the bag. Let's look at the Aussies fighting to get back into medal contention. Currently in 4th overall, or 3rd or 4th going into this race.
Yeah, and really Dylan Fletcher in a strong position here. It's for that silver medal. It's his to lose, you would say. He's got a 4 or 5 point buffer on a bronze medal position, so he needs good races. But if he does his job well, he'll be coming home with a silver medal, and I think he'd be pretty happy with that result, Andy.
Yeah, I'm sure he would. I mean, anytime you can get the top side of the Aussies and the Kiwis, who are the form boats, then you'd be very happy about that. And they're slightly smaller, they're slightly shorter than the Aussie and the Kiwi crews, so these strong wind conditions aren't really playing to the strengths of GBR4. They're optimizing themselves more for the lighter winds of Rio 2016.
Well, here is an important cross there with Australia 5 just ducking behind the German boat. And not very much in it, though, as they switch sides.
The Aussies and the Kiwis just getting across ahead of GBR4. Germany 12 coming out this side. They've got another 15, 20 seconds of sailing before those boundary ropes will force them to tap back. And then it's a matter of which boats can they cross. Will they be able to cross the British, for example? Probably not. So it's very close between, well, all top 4 boats at the moment, really. But I think I prefer where the Australia 5 is right now.
Well, we are heading upwind for the first time in race 2 of 3 medal races here in the 49er class. And near the head of the fleet, certainly on the overall leaderboard, are the New Zealanders, Peter Burling and Blair Tuke. We think they've pretty much got the gold medal wrapped up, but silver and bronze very much up for grabs. 3 teams fighting for 2 medals, the Australian, German, and British teams. And that's where we'll keep our focus as we go into these last 2 races.
These boundary ropes forcing plenty of tacking from the 10 crews in this fleet. Australia 5 sailing on starboard tack, looking fast and bouncing back from that capsize and that last place in the previous race.
Well, they're looking fast, but I think they may have just slotted in behind the German boat. That's one of their main rivals here, so still a little bit of work here to do for Nathan Outeridge.
And Australia 5 managing to force GBR4 to bear away behind them and immediately tacking, so they must be close to ley line. New Zealanders doing enough to hold on to an overall series lead. Kiwi sailing quickly, but it's very, very tight between the Australians and the British. The Germans on the far side getting close up towards the top mark, and now we're about to find out who's going round in first place. It's a Danish boat, the 2008 Olympic champion Jonas Warrer going round in first place.
And Andy, Jonas Warner coming into the day in 6th place, probably out of the hunt for a medal.
The boats we're interested in, it is the Germans who go round in first. There's a bad rounding there for Australia, and they look very, very close. It's a trawl. They're trawling that kite. Will Ian Jensen be able to haul that out of the water, or will they capsize? These are crucial moments.
Just a disastrous day so far for Nathan Outeridge and Ian Jensen, Andy.
That kind of thing you do not expect to see from the Australians.
Well,
I think we can say
that could be the medal right there. Between that and the capsize, that could really put them in with just too much work to do with 1 race left.
Well, that plays into the hands of the Germans. The Germans going very nicely down this run. Eric Hyland, Thomas Plussel reaching those boundary marks very shortly. We're going to see them jibe. And how will their jibe go? Looks very solid. I don't know if they know where the Australians are, but the pressure comes off the Germans a little bit. It's falling a little bit more towards a battle between Great Britain and Germany right now, unless the Australians can make inroads back into this fleet. But the Aussies some way back from the rest of the pack now. They're about 100 metres back from the next boat.
Yeah, it's a really big gap. They're going to have a hard time just salvaging 1 or 2 points out of this.
So the Danes get that Red Jenica down. Denmark 30 goes around the inshore gate mark, closely followed by the Germans, who have made a bit of ground back on the race leaders. Italians going out to the right. Kiwis going out to the right. But we're not so concerned about the Kiwis. We think the gold medal is pretty much around their neck already. What we're more interested in is how is it going between Germany, Great Britain and Australia? Well, it's going terribly for Australia right now. They are last coming into this bottom gate mark after that spinnaker trawl, after somehow, for whatever reason, the main sheet went out a little bit too quickly and it put Ian Jensen off his stride as he was trying to get the kite hoisted. The kite fell in the water, it trawled, and he did well to keep on hauling when the kite was basically going fishing. Germans have already tacked away onto port tack, so they're sailing back towards the middle of the course, and they're a few boat lengths ahead of the British. The British didn't have such a great top of the previous windward leg, so they're back in 7th at the moment, and this is going nicely for the Germans in 3rd place in this race right now.
Yeah, they're looking very, very strong here, Andy, and this could really give them a big boost towards that silver medal. The overall results right now, were things to finish as they are, well, Great Britain, Darren Fletcher, he'd still be holding on to the silver medal, but only by 2 points. So certainly that would set up a very exciting 3rd and final race of the day, and you can see how much work Nathan Outteridge will have to do to get back into it. He's just had a disastrous day so far. Capsize in the first race, and then that trouble with the spinnaker in race 2 just a few moments ago, and that could be enough to put him out of the medal. He came into the day, we thought he might be fighting for a gold medal, and right now he's going to be fighting for his life just to get a medal.
Coming up to London 2012, they were invincible. People could hardly take a race off them, let alone a regatta. And even though they've not practiced very much, and Nathan Outteridge's main focus these days is on the America's Cup, but he's also doing the International Moth World Championships next week in the UK. These things, they start to tarnish that sheen of invincibility. There's a sense of those guys being unbeatable that's slipping away from them if people witness these kind of boat handling errors from the Australians.
Well, a difficult day so far for Nathan Outteridge, but a good day for the German crew, Andy, as it looks like they are putting themselves in position to really have a great fight in the 3rd race for a silver medal. And, coming into the day in 4th place, several points back, I think they'd be pretty happy with that, to be going into the 3rd and final race of the day with a shot at the silver.
Recent winners are Kiel Week, 3rd at last year's European Championships, and there's a great opportunity for the Germans to improve on that. This could be their best international regatta yet in their careers.
And it is interesting to see, you were speaking about that feeling of invincibility, and I think that's starting to happen now with Pete Burling and Blair Tuke. Even though they were a little bit deeper in the fleet at that first mark rounding, once again, they've worked their way up, and it looks like they'll probably be in the top 3 going around the top mark for the 2nd time.
Well, still leading this race is Jonas Warrer, sailing with new crew Anders Thompson. Jonas Warrer just getting the kite up, the 2008 Olympic champion from Denmark, followed by Eric Heil, Thomas Plussel of Germany. Not far behind them, just 2 boats back, it's Pete Burling and Blair Tuke going for the jibe set that they love doing so much. And that's the Kiwis on the charge, going down the far side of the course, seeing what positions they can gain.
And it looks like there's a little bit more wind out there. They're absolutely flying down there.
Yes, they are, and the rest of the fleet is quite tightly bunched going down the far side, so they could be giving each other bad air. So that's a good strategy by the Kiwis to just plough their own furrow out to the far side. Will the Danes be able to hold on for the race win? And what will Dylan Fletcher and Alan Syme be able to do?
And interesting to see, we were saying what a tough position they were in, but I think Nathan Outteridge has made some gains here. He's really sailed well. You think how far back he was on that first run, and right now he's back up to mid-fleet. Pretty incredible, actually. Andy.
Well, that is incredible. I don't know how much we can tell from our perspective here, but he's certainly getting his way back in here. That's an amazing recovery by the Australians. The Danes, Denmark 30, just another 100, maybe 200 meters before the finish line, and will they be able to hold on? They're a new crew, still getting their crew work together, but that's a perfectly good jibe there by the Danish, and they should be able to hold on, but the Germans not far behind. The black SAP Jenica setting nicely there out of the final jibe there for the Germans.
Well, every point absolutely so important right now, certainly for those in the hunt for the silver and bronze. And we'll see. Here goes Germany across the line now, Andy.
2nd place for them across the line. It looks like it's going to be 3rd place across the line for the Kiwis. Closely followed by Oh, it's so hard to tell. Not sure who was fourth, but not too far back as Nathan Outridge and Ian Jensen. And they got right onto the back of Dylan Fletcher and Alan Sines, so they've closed the gap. And the Aussies keep themselves in contention for a medal.
Well, certainly a case of damage limitation there. And I just think back to how far behind they were when they went in front of our tent the first time downwind. For them to be in any kind of position to battle away there, just really impressive comeback there.
So there we see it. Denmark, Germany, New Zealand, Italy, Austria was the finish order for the top 5, followed by Fletcher and Outridge, bouncing back nicely from that trawl at the top mark first time round.
So that's our provisional results for race 2, and we'll see what the impact is there on the overall race positions heading into the final race of the European 49er Championships. And we have seen some absolutely great racing here this week. There's just one more left, and this one is going to determine the medal positions. I think with this finish that you can see now, Andy, Peter Burling and Blair Tuke are the European 49er champions for 2014. You can see them getting onto the coach boat and celebrating there. And well-deserved, an absolutely dominant performance here this week.
Yeah, to win with a race to spare, and it was almost 2 races to spare, such was their level of dominance. And, well, it's becoming a habit. It's becoming the kind of habit that the Aussies had leading up to London 2012. This is a nice championship-winning habit that the Kiwis are building up for Rio 2016.
Well, some great sailing that the New Zealanders have done, and you know, we've heard from so many people that dominant performance where they just keep winning races. And we're just taking a look right now at where we are on the overall leaderboard. It looks like Nathan Outridge is right now on the outside looking in for a medal, Andy. Provisionally, we think he's about 4 points that he's going to have to make up to get that bronze medal, maybe 6 points for a silver. And that's an awful lot to ask with just one race to go.
So Dylan Fletcher, he carried a 0.4 of a point into today. And so so that should be 50.4 points on Fletcher's score. So we can't illustrate that on the diagram there, but that 0.4 of a point could yet be pivotal. So we just need to be aware of that as well, that there is a 0.4 for Fletcher. 50.4 is what it should read for Fletcher. And let's see if that 0.4 of a point is crucial.
And looking back to 5th place to Mano Diane, he came in 5th place, the French crew, and I think they're far enough back now, Andy, that they're out of the hunt. I don't think that they can be an influence on any of the medal places, apart from if they're finishing in between boats. So for Outridge and Jensen, they need to win or be in 2nd place in this race. They need some boats in between them and the others, and so they need a little bit of help. Their destiny's certainly not in their own hands here. And Eric Isle, well, he's moved up a place. He's into the medal position on the podium right now. He'll be looking to protect that. And Darren Fletcher as well, looking very good in the 2nd place position.
Well, just to clarify, that 50.4 points.
And we're just looking on the rib now. We're going to try and get an interview from the water with your new European 49er champions, Pete Burling and Blair Tuke.
And I'm here now with Peter Burling and Blair Tuke, the winners of the 2014 49er Seiko European Championships. Peter, tell me a bit about this 2 races you've had so far. Been pretty dominant. It's going all your way.
Yeah, we obviously had a pretty good first one to come away with a win there and put the pressure on everyone, and then closing down that last one. But I'm really happy to have a pretty big lead going into this last race, and just really have to cruise around the course and take it easy.
Sure, and how hard are you going to push it now with the guys? Are you going to go out for the bullet, or are you just going to take it easy?
Oh, you always go for the win, don't you? I think our scorecard showed that this week. We're pretty keen to try and win as many races as we can, and I've really been enjoying our sailing this week, and really enjoying the cruise and
Fantastic. Well, no, it's great. And obviously with Santander ahead, which is the first qualifying for the 2016 games, putting in a performance like this, obviously the guys, showing a bit of mental dominance is always a good thing, I presume.
Yeah, well, I think this is a year of being undefeated in the 49er now, so we're really happy. The first kind of event we obviously won for a while was the Europeans last year, so we're really happy to kind of keep on our string and keep pushing, keep improving, and I'm sure everyone will love their game, a lot for Santander, but we're pretty happy where we're at.
And you're obviously enjoying the battle with your old foe Nathan Eldridge again, who unfortunately in the first race seemed to have a bit of an issue with John Pink, but did not get redressed when he took it to the protest room on the boat.
Yeah, well, we kind of thought he might have with how much redress they've been giving out for hitting rocks and things this week, but obviously the jury's made their decision there, and I think he's got a bit of work to do to keep second in this race.
Well, Peter, congratulations. It was great sailing, and best of luck in the last race. See you later.
Well, Andy, a jubilant Peter Burling, the helm of NZL1 with his crew Blair Tuke, and why wouldn't he be? They're the new European champions.
Yep, they keep on winning, and I'm sure it's a habit that they never grow tired of. And yeah, just staggering, particularly that they won 5 out of 6 races in the Gold Fleet against 27 boats yesterday. Just phenomenal performance by them. But let's turn our attention back as we come to the 4-minute signal just then. The Blue Peter signal going up just behind GBR4. 4 minutes to go to the final race of the grand final, and it's 3 boats to decide who's going to win silver and bronze. Australia, Great Britain and Germany.
Well, that's right, and that British boat that you're looking at right there, Dylan Fletcher, he is currently sitting with a silver medal in his pocket. He needs to protect that position. His closest competitor, well, that's the German crew, Eric Heil, and right behind them, well, somebody that you maybe wouldn't want breathing down your neck, Nathan Outeridge. That being said, the Australians, Outeridge and Jensen, they've had an absolute shocker of a day so far.
Yes, they have, but they're still in with a fight, and they won't give up. We saw them trawl the spinnaker in the last race. They dropped back to 10th. They did well to save it from a capsize, but they got back to 7th, and those were 3 crucial points that they pulled back. I just want to explain about the points of Dylan Fletcher and Alan Syne and why they've got that 0.4 on their 50.4 score, and it comes back to an extraordinary regatta for them, because on the first race of the first beat of the first race, they ran aground. They caused major damage to their boat by hitting a submerged rock. It looked like they may not even get back into the regatta, but they replaced the centerboard. They did a patch-up job overnight, and because they managed to prove that the rock was within the race area, they got redress, they got average points. And so they then went into the rest of qualifying in this sort of highly leveraged situation where every race they did was either going to reward them very highly or it was going to punish them very badly. And they could have easily gone out of the competition and missed out on the Gold Fleet, but they didn't. They set a fantastic series, and they went through Gold Fleet into Gold Fleet in 2nd place overall, because they got some good scores that were amplified and multiplied by the fact that they carried those average points. So it's been a very, very strange kind of regatta, and here they are sitting in silver medal position.
And Andy, that highly leveraged day that you spoke about, if I'm not wrong, that was one of the windiest days here as well. And they were able to, as we've said, they're one of the smaller crews in these medal race days. And for them to be able to handle the boat and get through that really says a lot about their sailing ability.
Well, yeah, but the difference is that coming through qualifying, you've got a lower standard. You're sailing against a bunch of boats, some of whom are very good, but when you go through to the Gold Fleet final and you've got the likes of Burling and Tuke and Outeridge and Jensen on the start line every time, then the differences in boat speed start to come into play. And when you're shorter and lighter than some of the other competitors that are sailing just as well as you, then there's not much you can do about it. You just don't have the firepower to match them. We've got about a minute to the start now, and it looks like everybody, with the possible exception of the Australians, is looking at a starboard tack start. So it looks like the Australians are going to chance their arm. They know they've got to do something special here, and they are looking like they might do a port tack start and do the opposite to the rest of the fleet, because they're in 4th place overall. They've got to pull something special out of the bag, and they're hoping they're going to find that something special on the right-hand side of the course. We've got 30 seconds to go. And Australia 5, you see them there. Maybe they're going to tack back, but at the moment they look like they're squaring up for a port tack start, starting underneath the rest of the fleet. 20 seconds to go. And no one is that close to the line quite yet, so we're hoping it's going to be a clear start. Just 10 boats in it.
Plus the ferry.
Plus the ferry. Let's hope the spectators keep their noses out of it. France 3, Manu Dien squaring up for a port tack start. The Aussies are also going for a port tack start. And one of the British boats, in fact, there's quite a lot of port tack starters, but who wins the start towards this side? It's Dylan Fletcher and Alan Syne doing what they need to do, getting a great pin end start. It's also a great start for the Kiwis again.
Well, let's just wait for that all clear signal from the race committee, but certainly looking like an excellent start there by the British crew, holding silver medal position coming into the race, and they need to have a good performance here to just convert that potential silver medal into real silver.
So they'll be sailing all the way in towards the boundaries. They'll be hoping that some of the other boats will tack off, but that probably won't happen. The Brits will probably have to tack and duck the Italians and duck underneath the Austrians as well. So they're not totally in charge of things, but at least they got a good start and they're sailing fast in clear air, and they've forced the Italians to tack away and immediately tack themselves, accepting that they're going to duck underneath the Austrians and underneath the Kiwis.
And look at that boat that leads the charge out to the left-hand side. It's still Burling and Tuke. Even though they don't need to sail that race, they're out there and certainly still looking like they're near the head of the fleet.
So another great start there by the Kiwis, but we're not so concerned with them. What I want to know about is how is Australia doing on the far side of the course, how is Germany doing on the far side of the course, and how is Great Britain doing on this side of the course?
Well, we just had the Germans and Australians in view on camera. We shifted back to this side of the course with the British as they did a attack, I think, to clear their wind. They've hit the boundary again. They're coming back towards the middle of the racetrack. There we are, Andy. We can see the German boat on screen there as they come back towards the middle of the race course. They're passing behind several of the boats that are heading out there, so they seem to be fairly deep into the fleet.
Well, the British got a great start by traditional standards. If they'd been sailing on a bigger course, they won the start going out, winning the pin and going out to left-hand side. But we're seeing the difference in boundary lane strategy, because the Brits have been bounced into doing 2 extra tacks, and that's going to be really expensive for them. And that's really going to make life a little bit easier for the Germans and the Australians on the far side. And there are the Australians in picture sailing away from us on port tack.
Yeah, and the Australians, just before they did that tack, they would have crossed ahead of the British boat. So they currently are ahead of Britain, and I'm not quite sure where they line up with Germany. They're both sailing parallel tracks out to the left-hand side of the racetrack right now.
And there are other boats that are getting themselves inserted into the action here. We're not so concerned with them directly, but they could have an effect on the outcome of the medals. And we're looking at Austria left to picture. That's one of those boats. It could well be the race leader. We'll have to wait and find out. But I think Australia are also doing well. Just sailing out left to picture. That is the European champions. Twice winners of the European Championships now. They won last year and now they won this year. But there we see on the left the overall standings, and look how tight it is between Germany and Great Britain. Equal on points. Australia still some way back as things stand, but a very tight race developing between Germany and Great Britain.
Well, we'll keep our eye on that, Andy, as the race develops. Well, we're coming
Australia.
We're coming up now towards the first mark. This is the first leg of a 2-lap race. So a couple of laps left to go. We're early on in this race. And as they approach that top mark, there's the Germans.
And if we can just pan to our left a bit, we'd be able to see who's about to go round in first place. It's a bit of a slow tack there from Australia. Looks like the Kiwis are going to lead round. Well, it's the European champions leading round, but let's not look at them. Let's see where Germany is, because Germany is a place ahead of Australia and the British GBR4 are a few places further back. So the British are leaving themselves a little bit to do here, and I think it's the Germans that might fancy their chances at the silver medal the way things are going. Nasty Hourglass.
Nasty Hourglass. Who's that?
That is GBR4. That's the boat that can least afford to be doing this right now. And they had to jibe back to shake that out, so that's a jibe they didn't want to have to make. But things are just not quite going to plan for Dylan Fletcher and Alan Syne.
Well, they had a good start. They were looking good early, but falling back a little bit in the fleet. And could this be the opening, Andy, that the German crew needs to steal a silver medal?
It could well be, because sailing is about making minimal errors. It's about letting your opposition make mistakes, and we saw a small mistake there from Fletcher and Syne with that Hourglass. There's not much you can do about it, but really maybe they could have packed the kite a little bit more safely the previous time. So a little bit of an unfortunate boat handling error there for GBR4, and that puts them on the back foot.
Well, it does. They were already deep in the fleet at that mark rounding, Andy, and certainly that isn't the way they wanted to start their downwind leg. Now, the Australians and Germans, they've been sailing fairly close to each other downwind here, but again, Nathan Outeridge, he needs some help if he's going to get himself back into a medal position. He needs a good finishing position, and he needs the Germans and the British to be deep into the fleet. And so far, the Germans aren't cooperating.
And how rude is this? The Kiwis are leading this race. They don't even need to be racing around this track, but they went out, they did this race, and they're leading it. And not far behind them are the Germans, going round in second place. Australia going round in third place. Denmark going round in fourth place. Sailing out the other side, I think it's the other British boat that we're less concerned about. It's John Pink sailing out in fifth place, going round the other side. But it's Dylan Fletcher and Alan Syne who are still some way back, and they go into an immediate tack. So they're not really able to dictate their own strategy at the moment. This is getting away from the British, and they've only got a lap left to do something about this. But at the moment, Germany are looking strongest.
Well, that's exactly right, Andy. And we are just one lap left to go in the European 49er Championships. And, well, we know our winner. Our winner is Peter Burling and Blair Tuke from New Zealand. What we don't know is who's going to get silver medal, who's going to get bronze, and who's going to be left on the outside looking in. But certainly the Germans, well, look at that. Right now, Andy, how close is that? We talked about how that 0.4 could come into play, and right now that 0.4 could be the difference between Darren Fletcher winning a medal and being on the outside looking in. Nathan Outeridge and Darren Fletcher almost equal on points, but Outeridge would just squeak in for the bronze medal position. And how about that German crew with second place? They came into the day in fourth, and they might be leaving with a silver medal.
Well, that would be a fantastic performance by Eric Heil and Thomas Plussel. We've not spoken an awful lot about them this week, but they've just been chipping away just in the shadows and never that far away from the limelight, but they're putting themselves in the limelight today.
Well, and that being said, we should look at this a little bit cautiously, because all Darren Fletcher needs to do is catch one more boat, and he'll be swapping places with Nathan Outeridge, and he does have one lap to do it.
Well, Fletcher and Syne will be fighting tooth and nail for those crucial places. Maybe 1 point is all they need to pull back, and there's still plenty that can happen. We've got less than one lap to go, but the Brits will be fighting hard to pull back some places.
And of course, Outeridge already up in third place. He doesn't have quite as many options in terms of picking off boats. He'll be hard-pressed to catch the Germans, and if he's able to do that, that could make life tougher on Darren Fletcher.
Dylan Fletcher and Alan Syne just tacking there, sailing underneath another British boat, John Pink and Stu Bithell. And
could we see some team orders come into play here?
I was wondering if the Brits would do each other favours, and I think probably they wouldn't. I think, if anything, they remembering that there's only one team that gets to go to the Olympics, in a way, they're their biggest rivals. So I don't think we're going to see any favours done by the other British crew.
All right, well, Dylan Fletcher now, we're watching him on the tracking, and really he's going to be hard-pressed to catch the boats here. The fleet does tend to, the gaps between the fleet expand as the race goes on, so it's really, really close here.
And this is going very nicely at the moment for Eric Kyle and Thomas Plussel, but they're close with the Aussies, and it looks like the Aussies might have got ahead into
And if the
second
Australians
place.
go ahead, that makes life much more difficult for Dylan Fletcher. He'd need to catch 2 boats before the finish. So right now, Nathan Outeridge, well, he's had 2 horrible races to start the day. Right now, he's in second place in this race, and that's exactly what he's needed to do.
So at the moment, it looks like Dylan Fletcher might be in about, what, 8th place? 8th place, so that, I fear.
This last run, Andy, absolutely critical. It's going to determine, if not the silver medalist, certainly the bronze as well. Eric Kyle, well, how about his day? He's had a great day. He woke up in 4th place, and he might be going home with a silver medal. In fact, it looks very likely that he'll be going home with a silver medal.
And we saw the Kiwis celebrate earlier the gold medal, but I wonder if the Germans get the silver, whether that will be the biggest celebration of the day, because it's a little bit more unexpected.
Yeah, absolutely great performance by them today. They've sailed 3 very good races and made up an awful lot of points.
3rd in last year's European Championship, and if they could get 2nd, also with the presence of Nathan Outeridge and Ian Jensen here, who are absent from Denmark last year, then that would be a feather in their cap.
And listen, let's just put this in context. Germany came into the day 8 points out of second place. So for them, if they are able to do this and hold on and get that silver medal, just an outstanding performance.
So the Germans looking like they still have a battle on their hands, and it looks like the Austrians on the far side of the track might be threatening, but these are critical moments for the Germans. Already Burling and Chuk have crossed the line miles ahead of anybody else. European champions ahead. So now we're seeing Outeridge, Jensen about to cross for 2nd place, just going out of picture, but it's going to be, let's see, it's very, very close. Is the Black Jenica of the Germans going to cross in 3rd place? It is.
It is.
So
I think that's a silver medal for Germany. Just an outstanding performance. And now we need to know whether Nathan Outeridge has done enough here to get himself a bronze medal. And it's really all going to be up to Dylan Fletcher. What's he been able to do on the run?
So is Dylan Fletcher, I think he's in 7th place, maybe crossing the line. It's very, very close on points. So it could be that Fletcher has maybe just pulled it back.
He may have just pulled it back. But let's wait and see our provisional results. What we do know, Andy, is that Germany has a silver medal. New Zealand has the gold, and the bronze is between Australia and Great Britain.
And that 0.4 of a point could prove crucial after all. It's that tight between the British and the Australians, but celebrations have started for the Germans, and the fan club is out there for Eric Kyle and Thomas Plussel, winners of the silver medal.
Well, an absolutely outstanding day here in Helsinki, Finland for the German crew to be able to, I mean, all I can say is use the word steal a silver medal. And you can see here's the other race as they come flying past our window. Blair Tuke and Peter Burling, followed very closely by Nathan Outeridge. That's the race to get back to the pontoon here.
So let's see how the European champions park their boat. That was a class bit of boat handling just there. Back on board with the Germans, and champagne moments for the silver medalists from Germany, Eric Kyle and Thomas Plussel. They kept their heads. They sailed a really solid day today across those 3 races. They got scores of 3.
Andy, we're just trying to get word from the race community to get 100% confirmation on our bronze medalist, but we think that it's going to be Dylan Fletcher with the bronze medal over Nathan Outeridge. So if that holds up, it's really a disappointing day for Outeridge and the Australians. And in contrast to the great day. And look at those celebrations with the Germans, Andy. They're absolutely ecstatic with that silver.
Yep, I would say they're happier with that silver than the Kiwis are with the gold, if that's possible. I think the Kiwis expected it. I'm sure Eric Kyle and Thomas Plussel were hoping for a medal this week, but against the calibre of competition that came here, then they would be really happy with the silver medal. but this is the third European Championship in a row where a European hasn't actually won the European title outright. The Open European Championship has gone to Australia and New Zealand over the past 3 years. So there's a message there for Europe and the rest of the world.
Well, certainly just a great day for the German crew to be able to get that silver medal. They came in fourth place, or they woke up in fourth place, and they're going home with the silver. And I think sitting on the outside looking in is quite possibly Nathan Outteridge and Ian Jensen, and that's something that they're not very accustomed to.
No, they had a shocking day by their high standards, that we see Nathan Outteridge and Ian Jensen going up the slipway. I don't know how long they'll dwell on this, but it wasn't the best of weeks for them, for the four-time world champions, for the reigning Olympic champions. We'd expect a little bit better for them.
Well, to be fair, it really all went bad today. They came into today still holding a silver medal position. They had a 3-point lead over Great Britain and certainly, I would say, a comfortable lead, an 8-point lead over the fourth-place Germans. So you would have thought they'd be able to manage it, but that capsize in the first race today, some problems with the spinnaker in the second race, and really it's just put them on the back foot. They really held up their end of the bargain, a second-place finish in the last race. They did everything they could, but it wasn't enough to overcome a poor outing in the first two races.
No, it wasn't. No, and anyway, I don't think they'll be dwelling on it too much because they really haven't practiced that much in recent times. They are focused on many different types of sailing campaign right now. Whether they'll get the time to practice leading up to Rio 2016, that's another question. The rest of the fleet will be hoping that Outteridge and Jensen are too consumed with their duties on the America's Cup racing for Artemis Racing to really commit fully to a 49er campaign for Rio 2016. But they're such a class act.
And really, this might be the wake-up call that they need as well, as they may have just realized and noticed that there's some new top dogs in town. And speaking of which, here they are, Peter Burling and Blair Tuke. And certainly, congratulations in order, guys. An absolutely dominant performance here this week. It must feel pretty good. Tell us what it felt like after that second race today to know that you were the new champions.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I mean, we've managed to win a few regattas now in the last couple of years, but today that was fun. I mean, the theatre-style racing and 15 to 20 knots of breeze, it doesn't get much better than that. So I'm absolutely knackered now, but we threw the boat around, we gave it our all, and it's been a great week for us.
And you go out, you don't even need to do the last race, if you do it anyway, and to add insult to injury for the rest of the fleet, you go and win that one too. I mean, were you as motivated for that final race as you were for the other ones?
Yeah, I think every race you go into, you obviously want to win, otherwise you wouldn't bother sailing around the track, So yeah, we definitely wanted to go out with a bit of a bang there at the end, and just show how quick we're going this week.
So am I right in thinking that you go undefeated since your silver medal London 2012? That was the last time that you lost to anybody. That was to Nathan Outteridge and Ian Jensen. You won every regatta since?
Yep, won every one since, and really happy with how we're going. We've made some pretty good steps forward and a lot of different areas in our campaign and how we sail the boat. So we're really happy with the improvements we've made since Palmer and here, also this year, and we're really looking forward to kind of going down to Rio now and checking out the Olympic venue and trying to figure out what happens down there.
Obviously, with your size, you guys probably like it when the breeze is up a little bit. Rio, maybe it's going to be a little bit lighter. Have you been working on being able to have the same kind of speed advantage and lighter winds as well?
Yeah, I mean, we have to just wait and see what the conditions are like when we go down there. Certainly, from what we've heard, it is pretty light down there. But the World Champs last year was a majority light air. So, and we won those. So, we're happy with our speed in the light. Certainly, and the Europeans. I mean, there are light air venues that we've won at. So, no, we're happy with that, and we'll just keep working on, like Pete said, see what the conditions are like down in Rio. And I'm sure it's not too bad.
You guys also have a day job with Emirates Team New Zealand. How do you balance the two commitments?
Yeah, well, actually, just before this, we came from an Extreme 40 event with Team NZ up in St. Petersburg, and so it's been a while since we raced the 49. We've done a couple of events with them between now and then, but yeah, I think the main thing is we really enjoy it. It's a completely different type of sailing, and you learn different skills that you can kind of apply back into the 49er. I mean, in the Extreme 40s, they're so unmanoeuvrable that it just means you've got to plan everything so much further ahead, and just kind of
everything seems to help out when you get back into the niner.
And does the sort of campaign atmosphere, the team atmosphere, and the resources that happens at Emirates Team New Zealand, does that feed into what you're able to do with the 49er a little bit as well, the kind of experience of some of the guys there? Or?
Yeah, certainly we try to draw off the experience of, there's a lot of awesome sailors there, but, as far as the campaign and the resources, it's not so much. We sort of like to keep our campaign separate. I think it's the healthy way to do it, but as far as trying to learn from all the people at the team, yeah, sure, there's a lot of smart people there in different areas, and we try to draw on that.
I hear that we might be able to speak to the Germans out on the water, who look like they're as happy with their silver medal as you guys are with your gold medal. And it's good news for them, isn't it? That's their best international finish so far.
Yeah, they got third at the Europeans last year, and they certainly, I said to Pete on that last upwind leg, Shivs, the Germans must be doing pretty good here. They sailed awesome today, and they thoroughly deserved it.
All right, well, congratulations, guys. Thanks for taking the time to come and see us over the last few days, and best of luck in the future.
Yeah, thanks a lot for the coverage. I'm sure everyone back home's enjoying it, so hi to our mums. Yeah, see ya.
All right. Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Thanks, guys. Well, there you have it. Those are your new European 49er champions, Pete Burling and Blair Tuke from New Zealand. And I think we're about to go out, as Andy said, on the race course with the German team, and we'll see if we can get some words in with them.
And here I am with Eric Heil and Thomas Plussell, our 2014 Seiko 49er European champions. So, gents, how does it feel?
It feels great. We had a very, very successful day. Great day. I'm just amazed.
It's fantastic. It obviously means a lot. You did some celebration there at the end, doing a backflip, both of you in tandem off the boat. Why did you do that? You did that in Palma as well.
Yeah, we did this in Kiel as well. Every time we win a big trophy or a big thing, then that's our move, and that's our way to celebrate. It's awesome. There was a big thrill out there today.
It's fantastic.
Well, that was the second place finishers from Germany, and Andy, we've also got our third place finishers here.
Dylan Fletcher, congratulations. Is it congratulations, or what are your thoughts? You are the bronze medalist. By how much is it from Nathan Outridge? It was really close.
I think it was by 0.6 of a point, and I think it must be like 2 or 3 points behind the Germans. So it was all really tight going into that last race.
So you're feeling bronze medal, happy, or what?
I think like right now, obviously, we're feeling a bit disappointed in ourselves, but we're pretty pleased generally with how we've sailed all week, and to come away with another medal, and beating obviously the gold medalist, it's always good. So right now it's a bit annoying, but I'm sure we'll come around pretty quickly and see all the positives.
And that 0.4 in your score, that tells a story in itself, doesn't it? It's been an extraordinary week for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you told us on Monday afternoon that we were going to be sat in this position, I wouldn't have believed you. After we hit that rock and, smashed our race boat up, it was a brand new boat we brought here, and we were feeling pretty down, and really happy to get back on it, be able to get our heads together and put a good series together.
And we'll put a great series together, you have, and as you say, maybe given a bit of time, maybe you'll be able to reflect and think that a bronze medal wasn't so shabby after all. I mean, after all, you've just beaten the reigning Olympic champions. You've relegated them from the medals. So they made some major errors today, and they were the form boat going into London 2012. But we saw them make some uncharacteristic boat handling errors, and they can't look as invincible to you as they might have done a few years ago.
No, I think for sure. I think the standard of the fleet has improved, especially I think a couple of the Europeans, us and Eric and Tommy, and it's really nice to be able to be competing with them, on their level.
But what about the Kiwis? What are you going to do to get back in at the Kiwis, because they are looking scarily invincible? They've sort of taken that over from the Australians.
Yeah, I think right now, obviously, they've had a really good run, purple streak, as you call it, and I think we just got to keep our heads down. We know what we've got to work on. We made good gains coming here, and the big test will be Rio. So we've got the test event coming up, which we'll all be at, and that will be a real good sort of test of of how we're going against each other in those conditions. Obviously, it's very tidal, very shifty, maybe lighter winds. So probably pretty opposite to what we've been having here.
All right. Well, thank you for taking the time to talk to us throughout the week, and congratulations, as Andy said. I'm sure it'll feel pretty good when you have a bit of time to reflect on it.
Thanks so much, guys.
Thanks,
all right, cheers. All right. Well, Andy, we've seen some absolutely terrific racing over the course of the week, and especially coming into today. Your thoughts as we wrap things up?
Well, Kiwis. Kiwi Gold, it's just phenomenal performance by them. Maybe we should have expected it, unbeaten since London 2012, 2 years ago, but I just think their performance is breathtaking. And it amazes me how, at Olympic level, people can dominate a sport in the way that they do, because we know how hard those 83 crews in the 49er are trying. We also had some great racing in the FX. I thought it was going to be a Kiwi double. We saw that at the World Championships last year, but the defending European champions sailed beautifully today. Ida Marie Nielsen, Marie Olsen, very much deserving of defending their European title.
Well, the breeze was up here in Helsinki, Finland, and it really gave us some absolutely outstanding conditions and some great races here at the 49er FX and 49er European Champions. All of the results are available on the website at 49er.org. For Andy Rice, I'm Peter Rush. Thank you for watching.